for the performance of such important tasks in this land. Let your blessings send upon them assembled, and granted may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matter that account their deliberation is so just and fair manner to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed their church. Amen.
Item 2 on the order paper, communication from the chair.
Now, members, I welcome you to this afternoon sitting and have a few areas to communicate. The first one is that we have learned of the death of the Duke of Edinburgh, the husband of Her Majesty the Queen of England, head of state of the United Kingdom, and patron of the Commonwealth. They have been married for 73 years. Prince Philip died at the age of 99. He came to Uganda with her on 2 occasions. The last in 2007, when we had the Shogam Heads of State meeting here in Kampala. But prior to that, they had both come to Uganda in 1954 to open the famous Owen Falls hydroelectric dam. On behalf of the Parliament of Uganda, my own behalf, I convey condolences to Her Majesty the Queen, the members of the royal family, the people of the United Kingdom, and the Commonwealth fraternity. Secondly, members also have heard the sad news of the death of Ambassador Dr. Kiriapao, was a former member of the NRC, member of Parliament of Dhaka County in the 6th Parliament. He also served as Uganda's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, and Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to the Republic of Ireland. He was the Minister in charge of microcredit in Tandikwa between 1996 and 1998. Minister of State for Gender, Labor, Social Development, in charge of gender and culture between 1999 and the year 2000. He was also Minister of State for Energy, Mineral Development, in charge of mineral development in 2001. He was married to the Honorable Roy Kiriapao, former MP of Tororo District in the NRC and in the 8th Parliament. He also served as a commissioner at the Uganda Electoral Commission. He served with diligence, and we condole with him. I therefore ask that we rise for a minute of silence to honor those individuals.
May their souls rest in eternal peace.
Honourable members, we also have to inform you about good news in the East African community. On the 11th of April 2021, President of Uganda, Mr. Yoweri Museveni, and his Tanzanian counterpart, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, concluded the tariff and transportation agreement and host government agreement for the Republic of Uganda and the shareholding agreement for shareholders, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline project, and they ordered the main engineering procurement and construction contracts. This is a timely milestone in our bid to deliver production and commercialization of our petroleum resources. Opportunities will abound in the sector, and it is incumbent upon the leaders to adequately prepare our people to partake of these opportunities. Petroleum resources will be integral in the growth and development of not only Uganda and Tanzania, but also the entire community. I therefore congratulate our two heads of state and the people of East Africa. I no doubt the ministers will be able to advise us about the content and the details. Finally, on our members, Monday, 12th April 2021, our Muslim brethren commenced the holy month of Ramadan. This Ramadan is a sacred month of prayer, reflection, and community aimed at solidifying personal collective covenants with Allah. I take this opportunity to convey goodwill wishes to all the Muslim faithful, Ramadan Kareem. And finally, today, His Majesty the Kabaka of Uganda has celebrated his 66th birthday. We want to congratulate him and wish him happy and long life and many happy returns to His Majesty the Nabagereka, the people of Uganda. Thank you very much. Now, there was one matter of national concern. Do you know Sebagara? 2 minutes. I'll come.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish also to add my voice to congratulate the Kabaka of Uganda on his 66th birthday. Madam Speaker, I also wish to extend my best wishes to all Ugandans, and also on behalf of the Muslim Parliamentary Caucus, wishing all Ugandans a blessed holy month of Ramadan, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, of recent, we have experienced water shortages in Kampala, and many parts of the city are lacking water. In some parts of Kawempe, it has taken almost 2 weeks without having water. And when we go to the offices of national water, the answers are inadequate to express why we are lacking water. And you know, Madam Speaker, without water in Kampala, it is a taboo that we can experience many related diseases because of lack of water, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would request through you that the national water, there are some areas in Kampala here where it has become known to have water, especially in Kawempe, in Tula, and other parts of this of Kampala city. Madam Speaker, I know that National Water and Sewage Corporation is a money-making institution, and I don't know how they can operate when the clients are ready to receive water, and yet they don't have water, Madam Speaker. I will request National Water, through you, Madam Speaker, the Minister, to explain as to why we have shortage of water in many parts of this city. Second, Madam Speaker, is the issue of Yaka meters. Madam Speaker, we are experiencing a lot of challenges in as far as Umeme Yaka meters are concerned. They are out of stock, and now many of them we have experienced situations where thieves go and steal these Yaka meters. And when Umeme comes with its operation, they just take up all the people who are there, and even if you explain that the meter was stolen, they cannot listen. And yet in stock, they don't have any meter. Right now, to get a meter, you pay over 700,000, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, through you, I will request, and I will request you to request the minister, to direct the minister to explain as to why we are having shortages of umeme meter, and yet the clients are over there. They are ready to pay and they are ready to have proper connections, not illegal connections, because these operations that are going on cannot really cannot distinguish between someone who is really genuine without a meter and someone who is not genuine. So it is upon the ministry to come out and ensure that umeme yaka meters are available so that we can avoid illegal connections, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
On the issue of water, I think the minister is here. She might be able to say something.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank my colleague for raising the issue of water shortage in his area. Madam Speaker and honorable members, water is life, and I do understand really that there's no water, and there's a lot of disturbance. Madam Speaker, the area of Kawempe and Tula is one of those areas really which for a long time, even before I came to this house, I used to work with National Water and Storage Corporation. It is a challenge of supplying that area. And National Water has been trying to catch up with supplying the water at that hilly area. And we thought we would have by now gone over. However, we also have challenges of the disturbances in the water distribution, Madam Speaker. As an institution, National Water, we had overcome the distance where to get water, but with time, it is now again a challenge. I want to say that we are going to get in touch, personally, I'm going to get in touch with my brother, Honorable Latif, so that by tomorrow, I would have some response, positive response to his plea, and then we shall undertake to ensure that the supply of water, especially now that our brothers and sisters, Muslim community, are starting their fasting, we should ensure that the water supply is constant. By tomorrow, I would have already gotten in touch with my brother, and we are going to rectify this immediately, Madam Speaker. I beg to submit.
Members, on the issue of the Yaka, the clerk should transmit the query to the Minister for Energy. Yes, Honorable Bakabulindi.
Thanks very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Speaker had requested you to raise the point of national concern, but let me start with the point of water. It is true that Kawempe has been suffering for a long time, but the issue of water now has gone beyond the Kawempe area. I stay in Mutungu. We can even spend a whole week without water. And when I rang there, they told me it's because of the construction that are taking place. Kabusu, they are constructing. There are so many areas. If the minister could come, as she has promised, with the details of how they coordinate with the Ministry of Works, because it is affecting us so much, so that that issue is settled. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm raising on the issue of national importance. And I think as government, whenever we undertake a pledge with some sensitive sectors, we should try our level best to fulfill it. The health workers have done a tremendous work in this country during this COVID period. There is a time when people could fear even to be closer with the patients of COVID, but our health workers were in position to save us. And I remember there is a time they had wanted to go on strike. We, as the workers' MPs, we had to sit with them to convince them, and they had to have an undertaking with the Minister of Health, with the Minister of Public Service, to promise them that during this budgeting process, they will incorporate the large allowance. But Madam Speaker, yesterday, I met them. There is nothing of that nature that has been incorporated. The Minister of Finance is here, he will tell us. As far as the lunch allowance of health workers is concerned. And if they threaten again another strike, it will be we people to suffer. Madam Speaker, I think an action needs to be taken before we come to the final budgeting of this process. Secondly, Madam Speaker, last time, around 5th March, my colleague, Honorable Shaija, raised a matter of importance here about our workers in the markets around Kampala. Some of them had gone to the extent of raising these markets like Nakasero, St. Barikudeme. The details are there in the files. And the chief whip stood on behalf of the Minister of Kampala by promising that within 2 days, the minister was going to come with an answer on how amicably we were going to handle that issue. Up to now, the minister has dodged and nothing has taken place. Our prayer, Madam Speaker, is that let this issue be given to the committee concerned so that all the people with their buino can be taken to that committee. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, on the issue of the health workers, since we're in the budgeting process, I want to instruct the chair of the health committee to take an interest in those issues and ensure that they are presented. But the minister anyway is here. I don't know if she has something to say. The Minister of Health is here. Then concerning the one of the markets, we shall send to the Committee on Presidential Affairs so they can have a proper hearing and also give us a report.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank my colleague for raising this very important matter. Madam Speaker, we cannot deliver effective healthcare services without the healthcare workers. And the nurses comprise predominantly of the healthcare workers in the profession. They are the majority. And indeed it is true, all this time, the lunch allowance they've been getting is 2,000 per day, which is not adequate. And I think all of us have agreed as government, as ministry, that the nurses should be motivated by just adding a little bit on top of what they're getting. And I'm so surprised that this matter is coming time and again. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, I recall, has pledged personally and put it in writing that come this financial year, this is going to be fulfilled. And it is our great hope that this matter is going to be captured in the forthcoming budget so that we do not make empty promises, but we make reality, and the nurses that comprise predominantly of the healthcare workers are really given this small money so that
Honorable Gonzaga.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Speaker, I think the Minister is not telling us the truth. We are in the budget process. She's among the ministers who go in the Committee of Health. The answer she's supposed to give us without even mentioning the Prime Minister is that, Madam Speaker, we have put this money in our budget. But if she's telling us the Prime Minister personally, is he going to sell his own cows to realize that money? The answer is no. So, Honorable Minister, through the Speaker, kindly tell us, have you put this money in your budget? The moment you say that, you don't even need to waste time on the microphone. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Sanyonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is not only the workers. The procedural matter I want to bring to the Minister of Finance, even the 2,000, you already have a petition of all civil servants. The 2,000 which are given to them as large allowance is taxed. So at the end of the day, you find that they remain with almost nothing. So we in public service and local government, we are saying all ministerial policy statements should be considered, including land, and the Minister of Finance should come out clearly with the Revenue Authority. not to tax even the 4,000 or 5,000, because at the end of the day, when it is taxed, you cannot even have breakfast out of it. I thank you.
Honourable Minister, did you provide for this in your budget? Because if you didn't, what magic will the letter of the Prime Minister bring? Did you provide for it or not?
Madam Speaker, this money was factored in the forthcoming budget for the next financial year. However, it is one of the unfunded priority which we do not want really to be unfunded priority. So I could request my colleague, the Minister of Finance, really to come and clarify that matter. Our wish is to be not unfunded priority, but to be factored as to be fulfilled in the next coming financial year.
The Minister of Finance is here.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and the Minister of Health. But Madam Speaker, before I make a comment on the allowances for the health workers, I have seen the chairperson of budget, the Honorable Rugorobi, enter in the house. I think we want to thank God that he recovered very well after 3 months. And at an appropriate time, we will be able to welcome him in the house properly. So,
can I also add my words of welcome on behalf of the house and say we have missed you, we have really missed you. And we thank God for your life. Okay. Yes.
It is true that this particular item has been a part of the unfunded priorities, and we are considering it as we finalize the budget. There will be a meeting in a few days from now. So in the next core agenda that we are likely to bring either this week or next week, we think that we shall have sorted out all these issues. Whatever is going to be accommodated will come in the core agenda, Madam Speaker. On the issue of the taxing for the allowance, I beg that you give me some time tomorrow. I check what exactly the Honorable is mentioning. Then I come back tomorrow and inform the House. Yeah, thank you, Madam.
With regard to the lunch allowance for the health workers, this is now government assurance. The Minister says he's going to bring a core agenda, and I hope he will keep to his word. The other one he said he will answer tomorrow. Let's go to item 3. Item 3.
Item 3 on the order paper.
What rules? Let's. Yes, Honorable Timothy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise on a point of procedure concerning your directive to the Ministry of Finance concerning the payment for Makerere University Business School lecturers who are supposed to get money through a supplementary budget, because they had been promised and it had taken so long, and the minister knew that promise. Madam Speaker, even up to now, that money is not reflected in the budget we are preparing. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I am worried when we have been waiting for a supplementary budget to cover the concerns of Makerere University Business School lecturers. It is not even in the budget. So, Madam Speaker, I pray that you really redirect the minister to make sure that that money is reflected in the budget, if cannot come as part of a supplementary budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So, Honourable Minister of Finance, what do you say about that? That's an old commitment.
Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, the issue of salary enhancement is not a simple one. Actually, it's a very big issue because the entire public service would want to see their salary enhanced. And what we recall, what we started with were the medical personnel. We also looked at other categories of the cadres in the civil service, and we have been increasing their salaries slowly by slowly. It is true that we had committed to the staff of MOVES I think 2 years ago, with His Excellency the President. We had a meeting with them, but the issue has been the resource. So, Madam Speaker, I request that you again give us time as we come with the whole agenda of the budget. We'll be able to inform this House the unfunded priorities, what we have been able to fund, and then together as leaders of this nation, we take a decision given the resource envelope that we have. So next week or end of this week, I'll be coming, Madam Speaker, on that matter.
Could you come really by the end of this week, because we don't have too much time to work on the budget. And okay. The 10th Parliament is ending in hardly a month.
Okay, ma'am.
It's a serious issue. Okay, let's go to item 3.
Item 3 on the order paper, statement by the Right Honorable Prime Minister on the need to review the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew.
Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I join you and Ndugu Bahata and the colleagues in the House to salute and welcome our comrade Ugolobi, who has jumped the hurdle and is now with us. We feel very strengthened that we will continue to benefit from your expertise as Parliament and as the country. You are very welcome. Right Honorable Speaker, I'll make a short statement on the issues connected with curfew, which were discussed in this August House. Right Honorable Speaker, colleagues, government is aware of the request by honorable colleagues, as well as our brothers and sisters from the Muslim community during this holy month of Ramadan. The request is for government to review some of the measures put in place to control the spread of COVID-19. Specifically, the issue and request to review the curfew hours from 9 to 10 p.m. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this is a matter that is not only being discussed in this August House, but a matter that was yesterday discussed in Cabinet and the chairmanship of His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, as this House, we recall the measures to control the spread of COVID-19 were put in place after a long consultative process with our scientists and other different stakeholders in the country. These measures were all aimed at containing the spread of COVID-19 pandemic among our population and to save lives. These measures, which were announced by His Excellency the President and the Minister of Health, based on advice from our scientists, are regularly reviewed, and this is done from time to time. This, therefore, means that the issue of curfew hours will be looked into in the context of protecting the lives of Ugandans, considering that the pandemic is still with us, and it is still affecting and killing many people in our country. As you are aware, and from the information that we have been receiving from our scientists and the Ministry of Health, the threat and scourge of COVID-19 is still very much alive. Projections indicate that we should not relax our guard because the number of positive cases reported have started, unfortunately, to increase, especially in urban areas, border districts, and also trading centers. This is coupled by the reported cases of new, fast spreading, and possibly more deadly variants of COVID-19. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I would like to let you know, and indeed to let the country know, that government is very much alive to the impact that COVID-19 has caused, and also the measures that we took to control COVID-19, what those measures have also caused in our way of life, in our businesses, in productivity, and subsequently in our livelihoods. We are very much aware and we are in solidarity with all those who have been affected. His Excellency the President will in the coming days be addressing the nation with more details on this matter of curfew and where we are in our fight against COVID-19 pandemic and what more steps we should take in order to keep our people safe. In the meantime, the guidelines issued by His Excellency the President and the Ministry of Health remain in place. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Let's have Honorable Sabagara. Honorable.
Thank you very much,
Basaliro.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Mwijuke.
Madam Speaker,
Centenary.
I have listened attentively to what Ndugu Prime Minister has just delivered to us. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether the Prime Minister lives on another island, not here in Uganda. Madam Speaker, I want to inform the Prime Minister that informally, curfew in many parts of this country is not there. Informally, I'm telling him because he could be living on another island of reality. What we wanted is to officially get the curfew out of our way. Because, Madam Speaker, when you move to many parts of this country, life is normal. Life is moving normally. Madam Speaker, apart from curfew impacting negatively on many, especially small-scale businesses of our poor women, of our poor men, who earn their living between 4 p.m. up to 8 or plus. Madam Speaker, it has become a money-making venture for the state operatives, especially the police. And past 9 p.m., if they get you, they take you to a police post, and to get away from there, you must pay 50,000 and above. The roadblocks are staged just to solicit money from people who really move past 9. Madam Speaker, if the Prime Minister, today I can volunteer to move with him around the city and see how things are moving. By midnight, by 11, people are still in bars, people are still moving openly. So now, for us, what we wanted is to help the government to officially extend the hours of curfew or to do away with curfew, because we know that curfew has lost its meaning. It has lost its meaning because it has been abused, and that's why, Madam Speaker, we as the Muslim community, when we entered the month of Ramadan, which started today, we thought the government is going to come in and say, yes, we have been under curfew for the last one year plus. And now it is time for us to use this holy month of Ramadan to pray for our country. Therefore, we have officially done away with curfew. Madam Speaker, we know the impact. We know that, yes, we are still grappling with COVID, but I request the Prime Minister and the government to reconsider so that we don't leave curfew as a project to security operatives, so that we don't apply curfew selectively to some parts of this country, because we know that we are all Ugandans. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Centenary.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the Right Honourable Prime Minister has made matters worse by his presentation. Right Honourable Speaker, as we speak now, there is a team of Ugandans in Chankwanzi undergoing some ideological orientation. But Right Honourable Speaker, government, specifically the Minister for Health, issued a statutory instrument to the effect that there will be no political meeting of 200 people and above. But as we speak now, there is a meeting going on in Chankwanzi. And that meeting, Right Honourable Speaker, is beyond 200 people. And yet there is a law barring meetings of 200 people and beyond. What are these double standards, Right Honourable Prime Minister, that you are exhibiting that makes it difficult for you to review curfew hours to allow the Muslim community enjoy the holy month of Ramadan? What is so special about it? Right Honourable Speaker, our Imam has already informed the Right Honourable Prime Minister that in effect there is no curfew. In effect, it is not there. So we want to request that, given the reality on the ground and the fact that already you are abusing SOPs that you put in place as government, just formalize the issue to allow Muslims to enjoy the holy month. Finally, Right Honourable Speaker, yesterday there was a communication, and I'm glad the Minister for Internal Affairs is here, Alhaji J. Job Odong Abubakar. Yesterday, Afande Ochom issued a circular to all RPCs, DPCs, and commanders, calling on them not to inconvenience the Muslim community beyond the curfew hours. Right Honourable Speaker, I have that communication on my phone. And when we received it, there was a sigh of relief in the Muslim community. A friend of Chom was saying that Muslims would find themselves praying beyond the 9 o'clock. And that if they are found moving after 9 o'clock, they should not be inconvenienced. That was a friend of Chom. The Prime Minister comes on the floor and says the curfew is still there. How are we moving as a country? So what are the Muslims going to do? Are they going to follow the communication of the Prime Minister, or to follow the communication of Wafando Chom. What are we going to do? So I think it's important that you come out very clearly on this matter for the good of the country. I thank you.
No, Mujuke, and Centenary.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as a member who was seconded to the National Task Force on COVID, if the Prime Minister had consulted us, we would have advised him otherwise. Otherwise, Right Honorable Speaker, just like the Honorable Sevagar has said, it is not that there is no curfew. No, the roadblocks are there. But as long as you have money in your pocket, you remove. So there are money collecting centers. It has now defeated the purpose for which the curfews were established. So people are moving, but they are roadblocks. So if you don't have money, you'll not move. If you have money, you'll definitely move, as long as you have 10,000, 20,000. So it is important now to sit and review, because some of these were established for purposes of planning. So that we plan. Now that we have been planning for over a year, why can't we extend to midnight like other countries have done? Otherwise, you cannot continue having regulations that are not helpful to Ugandans, and then we defend them. Otherwise, I support the idea that the curfew is extended to at least midnight. Thank you.
No, Centenary. Centenary, Oranya, Nambeshe, Ogon, Atat, then I get to Mr.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, I'd like to inform you that I come from the border district of Kasese, but to our detriment, the privileges accruing to the border districts have not reached Kasese. For instance, we were put under lockdown for an entire month during the campaign period, but we have not received even a single ambulance, even when we have been considered to be put under a red flag. What does that mean? A border rider in Kasese has to park his motorcycle by 6 p.m. and he has to pay the boss, the owner of that motorcycle. But across in Fort Portal and the neighboring districts, these borders are moving throughout the night. Why does government allow selective application of standard operating procedures on certain districts, and yet other districts are enjoying the full privileges of the lifting of the curfew? Another issue, Right Honorable Prime Minister, these buses which move, the public transport buses, they are moving and they dump people here in the cities at around 9, 10, 11. Now, just imagine somebody has traveled from Kasese and is coming to Kampala. He needs to go to Entebbe, and he has arrived at 9 p.m. or at past 9 p.m. How do you expect that person to commute from the bus station in town to Entebbe when they have put a curfew on the alternative transport that is supposed to now take that person from that bus station to their final destination? So I think your scientists need to study, because me as a lay person, I know we have a number of markets which even accommodate hundreds of people, and we have not seen a single case of a corona patient from those markets. It means that your scientists need to study further how this virus is now reoccurring and spreading. You may realize that there are people you are punishing innocently, and you are affecting their livelihoods, and you're not even giving them other sources of livelihood. For instance, bar owners are suffering. The landlords who own those premises where the bars are being operated, URA is requesting them to give rental income tax. The people who are operating in those buildings are not allowed to operate. If they are operating, they're operating illegally. The police patrol is always around collecting money from them. I think it's a very big shame that government cannot systematically apply its guidelines. Therefore, I agree with my honorable colleagues that we need to lift, first of all, the curfew hours, but secondly, review the standard operating procedures so that some people are back into the fold of economic livelihood. Otherwise, people are going to collapse. They have borrowed loans, from banks. They have invested in their bars, others have invested in their buildings, but they're not earning from it. And yet, they have to pay taxes, and they also have to look after their families. I'd like to move.
Okay, Honorable Ogon. Now, right now, Prime Minister, last week I mentioned that the government had closed the airports for a long time. When the airports were reopened, there was no adjustment to the curfew. Yet the flights, KLM arrives after 11, Turkey arrives at 3 o'clock, Ethiopian arrives at midnight, Kenya Airways arrives at 5, So all the passengers from Entebbe committing an offense by trying to get to Kampala in the night. What do you want them to do at the airport? To remain there?
Right, Honorable Prime Minister, you just have to do away with the curfew. At least I know you are such a good man. Just go and tell the president, this is from us to you. Remove this curfew. We cannot as a house continue debating on the same matter. I think this is the 5th time, Madam Speaker. We are talking about curfew, spending the most prestigious and precious time of this parliament speaking about one matter. For how long? Madam Speaker, no. At least I have seen that there's a problem. Now government is coming with the taxes which are not coordinated. Because you want to try to cover the gaps created by curfew. What kind of economics is this? At least a villager like me can also tell that it's time to remove the curfew. Why not remove it? Right, Honorable Speaker, this curfew, I don't know what it is meant to do. Is it to arrest the coronavirus or to arrest the suspects in the night? Because, right, Honorable Speaker, I don't know what is happening. In the night, people are moving. I think the curfew is targeting social distance. What is the difference between social distance at day and social distance at night? Is there a difference? I think the Prime Minister should answer that one. Is there a difference? Social distance at day and then social distance at night. Medical, is it existing? Number 2, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to ask, Right Honorable Prime Minister, do you pay the police who are managing the curfew some money? Are you giving them any basic allowance? Because it's like it is the public now which is what? Becoming the ones to pay. They are the cashiers now. That's where the problem is. And most of the restaurants, you are giving out a mioga. Now this mioga money, how are these people going to benefit from it? These are people who are operating in the saloons, they are operating in the bars, they are operating in barber shops, they are in all these kiosks. How are you going to benefit from a mioga? So when we speak here, it might sound like we just want to make noise. No, we are part of government. Government is about you, the legislature, you, the executive, and the judiciary listening to one another. We have spoken as parliament, you have definitely refused to speak, and you have kept quiet. So what are we going to do? We are not about to riot. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we are bending a law. Maybe when we speak with a low tone, the Prime Minister will listen. May I kindly beg you, remove the curfew. Maybe that's the tone, because maybe we have been so loud that you have failed to listen to us. Please remove the curfew. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Leader of Opposition. Olanya Nambeshe, Ogwar, Inageta Chon, Chon Macho. Okay.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, these scientists, are they really helping you? If the information is from the scientists, do we still have district meetings taking place? When we put in place curfew, because those district meetings should inform you, and you will know that curfew is right now theory. It is there to extort resources from people. It is there as a mechanism for those people, those soldiers, to get their pay from the population. If you are very unlucky, then you are tortured by these people. Why can't we just, remove? How can you move from 9 to 10? What impact will it bring? Right Honorable Prime Minister, you remember when curfew was put in place, it was also as a response to total lockdown. Total lockdown. This total lockdown was done away with. Why should we leave curfew to continue to be on board? Right Honorable Prime Minister, even the national meeting, I don't know if you still have the national task force meeting taking place, because we don't hear about them. That is why the police then gives another what? Another statement, and you come with your other statement. It is not only about the Muslim. Right now, priority is the Muslim, but it is also about the population of Uganda. We need people to be a little free. And if we have to give them their freedom, people should not just be, getting them, catching them. The borders suffer most. Because sometimes buses also travel in the night. And then they take people, leave alone this airport being open. Right Honorable Prime Minister, at least we request you to go and revisit the communication you have given to us. I do not know what the president is going to tell the nation, since he's coming to address us within a few days. It's better you do your research well. Help the people of Uganda. Otherwise, you are putting section of people of Uganda into a very big problem. Because every time you move, then there are people there who want money from you. And they get money from you. This is wrong. Those scientists must also be investigated. If they are real scientists, I think we begin to doubt them. They are politicians, they are not scientists. They should do their research well. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, we are all saying this in good faith to help the people of Uganda, because this curfew is meaningless. The only meaning of this curfew is for those soldiers to continuously extort money from the people. It is not to even protect the population anymore or to protect property of people anymore, but it is for extortion of money. So please do us that favor and open it up. From 9 to 10 is meaningless. At least if you would talk about from 9 to midnight, but we want a total removal of this curfew. This is the proposal that we are giving to you. Take it in good faith. Right Honorable Prime Minister. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Honorable Gilbert Olanya Nambeshe, Ogwalde Nageta Chon Macho, and Tumzigu, and Minister of Health.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, you need to give us the scientific proof that COVID-19 spread the more after 9 p.m. Because it's quite risky to talk when we do not know exactly what happened. And you need to understand exactly what happened after 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Right Honorable Speaker, aware that currently churches are open, marketplaces are open. Up country, we have what we call auctions. And during auction day, you will find more than 2,000 people in a market. In the burial places, more than 3,000 people gathered together. And really, what scientific proof do you have, Honorable Prime Minister, that after 9 p.m., the spread of COVID-19 is high? Right Honorable Speaker, I know the statement presented by the Right Honorable Prime Minister was drafted in a hurry. I am very sure the people who work in your office discovered that you are in the order paper and they hurried to draft the statement. And the statement that you presented, Right Honorable Prime Minister, I don't think if you read it before. Because if you were to read it before, I think you wouldn't have presented before Parliament. Right Honorable Prime Minister, the implementation of this curfew is all political. Just political. Not that we are fighting the spread of COVID-19. It's not at all. But it's political for the reasons well known to you, being the Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda. The request of our people is, the other time we presented, right now, border are being looted by these police officers who are implementing curfew times. The newly recruited police officers, the police constables, that is now their major work. You find at 7, they dress very fast from their home, they run to the roadside. They go strictly looking for money from the border people. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, some of us, members of parliament, ministers, including you are not being asked. After a police officer realizing that you're a member of parliament or someone big in parliament, they will come down and let you go. But people who are not in any higher positions, they are crying right over Prime Minister. They are being looted. They are being stolen day and night. But for us here, you are saying reluctantly that the issue of the curfew shall be looked on by the president. I think finally, right, Honorable Speaker, the problem we have in Uganda also is that we over-depend on only the president of the Republic of Uganda. And if you look at it critically, all these ministries, no minister will ever come up with his personal statement for the betterment of the country. Anything, you have to wait from only one man. And the day that one man will not be there, I think the country will go into a total mess. Even very small thing, extending the curfew hours, saying let us extend the curfew hours. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Internal Affairs, all those, you have to sit and wait from only the President of Uganda. I think this is very risky for our country. This is very risky for our country. Let us be serious. Let us remove the curfew. Let people go on looking for money to send their children to schools. As I go and sit, right, Honorable Speaker, let me give you one scenario that happened seriously last week. A bus moving from Gulu, when it reaches Luero, the bus was stopped after 9. The bus was directed to go to the police. And from the police, those people were asked to contribute some little money. They refused to pay money, and they detained the bus from 9 until 6 in the morning. Then they were allowed to go back home. People just slept outside. And there are buses who are collecting money, paying money, they are being allowed to move, even at 11, at midnight. The moment you give money, you are free to move. If you don't give money, you are tortured, you are humiliated, as if you are not a Uganda. Honorable Prime Minister, I think let us be very serious for the betterment of our country. I beg to move.
Thank you, Honorable Nambeshe. Nogwal, then Achon.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, if curfew was to curb the spread of COVID-19, then it was working only at a time when we were in a total lockdown. And actually, our neighbors like Kenya have had to revise. They have had to lock down, particularly those urban areas where the spike is skyrocketing. For instance, recently the announcement was that Nairobi, Nakuru, Kajiado, Kiambu, Machakos, about 6 urban centers we again put back into a total lockdown. And that is where curfew works. Equally here, it was working. But right now, Right Honorable Prime Minister, I want to tell you that there are even new, because of curfew, there are even new character traits, negative character traits from the police. It will shock you that where I held a meeting of my coordinators until it came to around 9, we were surrounded by police, and they were not only dispersed, but some were arrested until they were released after they had extorted money from them. Now the bars have become even more indisciplined than before. They operate throughout the night. They have spies, and the spies they use are the police to protect them. These are informers. They close doors. Now recently, in where I stay, when they realize that they have known that trick, now they have turned into singing songs and singing Hallelujah, Hosanna, whenever they get tips that the police is coming. So they sing for a long time until the police goes, they think, and those close to hoodwink the police that this is a place of worship. People are worshiping. Inside, these bars are packed to capacity. And what would you expect there for the level of infection of COVID-19? It is therefore, curfew is doing more harm than good. I'll give you information. But Madam Speaker, I'll give you. Madam Speaker, curfew, in my view, has been weaponized in another form of POMA, Public Order Management Act, after it was quashed by the courts of judicature. Because it's more political. I would like to raise a very humble question to the Right Honorable Prime Minister. Whether permission was sought and eventually granted by the line ministry, that is the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health, incidentally, is here. For Changwazi to carry on with that illegal gathering. When other parties like NUP cannot hold any meetings anymore. Now it has, because of curfew, it has become the preserve of one party to be at liberty to hold meetings even under the umbrella of darkness, when others are actually held in limbo. Madam Speaker, the cost of doing business now in Uganda is very high. The informal sector economy is suffering most. Actually, it is on intravenous fluid, because most of these people in the informal sector do their business at night. Now, you can also imagine how skyrocketing the charges, even border borders, merely to get a border border at that time to take you anywhere, or special hire. It is very expensive. And it has not put, this curfew has not put into consideration the nightmare of traffic jam in the city here. You take 2 hours, yes please. You take 2 hours in a traffic jam, and after that, you are arrested by the police, and you have to have more than 50 on you to be set free.
Thank you, Honorable colleague, for giving way. Honorable Speaker, I just want to Right Honorable Prime Minister, just to justify, we have SOPs. To what percentage has curfew contributed to the reduction of COVID in the country? I thank you.
Yeah, as I conclude, Madam Speaker, mine is to humbly request the Prime Minister to harmonize your position with the IGP, who has prudently come out to realize that at a time like this, we should relax those stringent guidelines pertaining to curfew. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ogwal, but let's just have 3 minutes, please. Ogwal, Achon, Macho, Pachuto, Kivalia, then the Chumuziku and Minister of Health.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, want to appreciate the statement made by the Minister of Internal Affairs, Honorable General J.J. Odon, concerning decentralization of passport processing. I think this is positive because he has responded positively to the request we made last week concerning congestion of people and particularly women sleeping around the immigration offices. I think this is a positive step, and I would like the Prime Minister to understand that when we come here and talk with a lot of bitterness, we are not bitter against you or anybody. We are representing the feelings of the people. Right now, the concept of curfew itself is actually damaging the image of the government, because you and me find it so difficult to go back to our constituencies and tell our people not to crowd at funerals when they are seeing people dancing in Chankwanzi, when they are seeing the crowding in Chankwanzi. So they're asking, are politicians immune to COVID? Why is it that in the villages we are telling them not to crowd, and yet in Chankwanzi they are crowding? So we are contradicting each other. I think it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility to advise the president. It's sometimes wrong for us to say we cannot do this because it can only be the president. You are now trying to put an impression that the president is a total dictator, but you are the one to advise him. He's not a scientist himself. So I think it's important that we should give the president the right information to lead him to make the right decision. Right, Honorable Speaker, finally, I want to say that the curfew has become a money-generating period. If you don't make money this time, you'll never make money. I know government officials have made money in the name of curfew, in the name of COVID. Money has been collected fraudulently from people. People have been robbed in the name of COVID, in the name of curfew. So can we stop it, please? And Right Honorable Prime Minister, you are our only hope. You are the only person who come here and we tell you what the people are feeling. So we pray that when you go back and meet the president, tell him what the people of Uganda are feeling about exploitative habit which has now been generated out of COVID and our concern about curfew. I thank you.
Thank you. Now, Achon Macho, Pachuto, Kibaria, Tumusibu, Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I would like to thank Right Honorable Prime Minister for the wonderful statement. Madam Speaker, the curfew has brought a lot of damage in this country. Curfew would allow the thieves would pass through peacefully. Then other people will not pass through in a peaceful manner. You must pay the money. Right Honorable Prime Minister, the voice that we are speaking here today is the voice of our Uganda citizens, our voters. It would be very wise if you give this voice straight to the president, really to reveal what all this curfew meaning to our nation. When Uganda was in a lockdown last year, things went smooth, but when it gotten easy, that's when part of the security began making money. This is real money. One time I was tried, because I'm just a very normal person. When you meet me, you would know even if I'm a member of parliament. When they realized, one of the security asked if I would give them some drinking water. I had water in a bottle because I didn't know what they wanted, but they wanted money. So I gave them a bottle of water. So, Madam Speaker, this country, really, if we don't review, it's gonna put us down. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ona Macho.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Prime Minister for his statement. When the Prime Minister speaks, the government has spoken. Madam Speaker, we have come to be a laughing stock in the East African region. I come from Busia border, and we are very blessed that in this regime, they built for us a one-stop border point, whereby business goes on 24 hours, 7 days. But as I talk now, why have I said we are laughing stock? Whereas business goes on 24 hours in Kenya, business goes on 12 hours in Uganda. So Kenyans are asking, what is wrong with our neighbors? Mr. Prime Minister, what is wrong with us in the region? That whereas Kenyan vehicles travel from far, carrying goods to export here, hours park on the border to wait for other 12 hours. So the question is, what is wrong with the Ugandans? Truly, Madam Speaker, I want to agree with my colleagues. Policemen who have not enjoyed this season, God will condemn them. Because curfew in Uganda is an income-generating activity. We who live in Mukono and we drive for hours, we are spared, some of us, because of our faces, but Ugandans are really suffering. One voter asked me, is that what you call the steady progress? And I said, I'll ask the Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, is that what we call the steady progress? Whereby somebody drives in the curfew and as soon as he reaches Mukono, he's arrested due to curfew. But I don't know. I request my brothers who are Muslims to pray. Because if Honorable Prime Minister, we don't help our brothers, the Muslims, prisons and the cells are going to be full, But what wrong have the Muslims done to us for us to pay them in this kind? I don't know which answer will Honorable J. Jodong tell to the Mufti or the district card where he comes from. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, as we request the government to help us open up the curfew, we also request the government to help us, give us COVID-19 funds accountability that was given by Ugandans who are being tortured by curfew. Because we have some people like Balam, who is my colleague in NRM, a support of NRM. They donated, Madam Speaker, for just a minute. They donated a lot of money to our party and we did very well through their donation. During the time of COVID-19, all their bars are closed. They're asking, where is the accountability of the COVID-19 funds? The vehicles that were given to the districts, they went without the cards. Mr. Prime Minister, I request you, you're a parent, that wherever we, the senior officers, take beer in our houses, the local people who are going in the bars, supporting the owners of bars who are doing business through the borrowed money are crying in their houses. Kindly, I propose and second that let us remove the curfew. Let Uganda be like Kenya. Let Uganda be like Tanzania, which has gone to middle income without curfew. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Pachito Kibaria, Tumzibu, Minister of Health.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister for the update on the SOPs. Right Honorable Speaker, I do think that it was not wrong for government to put curfew in place, and it's still not wrong for government to have curfew in place. But I do agree with members too and share their feelings that it is not proper for the police, however, to take this as an exploitative venture to reap Ugandans of their resources. Right Honorable Speaker and members, I think as Ugandans and as leaders, we need to instill a bit of discipline in ourselves and work smart. If by far government has not uplifted curfew or reviewed the time, why wouldn't a city as Uganda plan herself or himself properly? Which order now? Right Honorable Speaker, for me, I would rather advance a case of government uplifting on public transport. Not yet, not granted. Allow me to go.
Point of order, point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, the honorable colleague knows very well that we are governed under our specific rules of procedure. When there is an atmosphere which is charged, and you know it is positive, I don't know whether it's okay for you to go negative. Even when you know that it is not right for you to say what you have just said, you go ahead to say what is wrong. Right Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the member to behave the way she has behaved via her submission? Is she in order?
Now, honor members, when you are speaking this house, you're not speaking about the leaders. You are speaking about the ordinary Ugandans. How do you expect a Ugandan who has entered the bus at 4, going to Jinja, and arrives in Jinja at midnight? It's in the gridlock for 5 hours. Please, think about the people. Don't just talk anyhow.
Okay, Right Honorable Speaker, I accept the order, but allow me to make this contribution, Right Honorable Speaker, about public transport. Right Honorable Speaker, are paying very heavily. For somebody to come right now from West Nile to and fro, you need close to 200,000. I would rather implore the government through the Prime Minister that we uplift the half board on public transport. Even right in Kampala here, Madam Right Honorable Speaker, on a rainy day like this, I don't know how much the ordinary Ugandan is paying to and fro wherever they are coming from. It is not less than 20,000. It is time for the government to adjust, to review a number of these SOPs, not just curfew time. I thank you.
Okay. Honorable Kibaria.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I believe on the dove swearing, the President held the same constitution that I also held that day. And I'm very sure Ndugu Prime Minister also held the same constitution. Right Honorable Speaker, Article 8A in that constitution is very clear that the laws that we make must be in the interest of Ugandans. Right Honorable Speaker, the voices that we hear here are voices from the Ugandans outside there. And it's very clear that the voices of the people should be the ruling force of government. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Ugandans outside there are crying. We appreciate, everybody appreciates the role that the President did during the time of COVID. We appreciate absolutely. We appreciate the role of government. But the time has come that Ugandans now are suffering. Right Honorable Prime Minister, everybody who moves on the streets of Uganda and Kampala know that jam ends at around midnight, around 11. But we still have the regulation of curfew at 9. We wonder whether we are setting this law in the interest of providing, as other colleagues have said, for the security forces to have reasons. The other day, Right Honorable Prime Minister, through you, Right Honorable Speaker, we had in my area, the Bakozi came for Kwanjula. They came to Kamuli Bugabula South for Kwanjula from this side of Nansana.
In our area, Kwanjula normally ends at around 7, 8 there. Hardly 2 hours, I received a call that the Bako had been arrested. Look at that situation, right, Honorable Prime Minister. If these Bakos were from your home and they call you that they have been arrested because of curfew, we must make laws that are in the interest of this country.
Thank you, Brother Chibaria, for giving way. Brother Honorable Speaker, the information I want to give my brother Chibaria is that yesterday we had the State Council, the Education Department in our Committee of Education. And I asked the Director of Education to give us a status report of children of Kampala ever since they resumed the school where children have been affected by COVID. And out of all the schools they have had, there was nothing. And Madam Speaker, when they brought, as I give information to the honorable member, is that when they brought the lockdown, we were in stage 1. And the Dr. Ndugu Rakana Lugunda, you know this as a doctor. Because of stage 1, we were looking for contacts and we could tell them. We left stage 1, went to stage 2. The moment we went to stage 4, the curfew and anything is unnecessary because you cannot get the contacts. It's like you telling us that people are going to spread AIDS, saying we are no longer going to sleep with your wife in the house. You must sleep this side to stop the spread of AIDS. It can no longer take place. So that's the information that I give. That as long as we are in stage 4, there is no need of curfew because you can no longer trace the contacts. Thank you. That's the information I will give you.
Thank you, colleague, for that information. So, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Speaker, Miaino Ndugu Lugunda is a patron of an association of the Old Boys of Mwiri. We are men with inspiration, realize infinity. I know very well, Right Honorable Prime Minister is taking note, and tomorrow he may come back here and say curfew has been lifted to midnight, because we are not saying, we are not defying anything, but we want to be considerate to Ugandans that 9 is not applicable. 9 is not possible. Even at the time when we close the house here, 9 is absolutely not possible. Can the government look into this? Can government listen to the voices of Ugandans, listen to the cries of Ugandans, so that we make life easy for all the Ugandans outside there that we are governing? Thank you.
Now, Tim Zigu, and then the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I take this chance to thank the 3 arms of government for the job well done in trying to fight COVID. However, Madam Speaker, I would like to support what my colleagues have been really yearning to listen for from the Prime Minister of doing away with the curfew. Madam Speaker, everyone knows that curfew is no longer a government business. It is a business for the policemen who extort money. Madam Speaker, would like to know from the Prime Minister the ranking of the strategies of fighting COVID, such that we know that curfew is the most effective. Because, Madam Speaker, in the villages, there are people no longer put on masks, and the policemen do not mind. At the same time, the very police personnel do not put on their masks. We have discovered that at the moment, when you go to a police station, there is no water and soap, so they don't wash their hands. So almost all SOPs have been relaxed or abandoned. Why maintain curfew? Is it the most effective measure of fighting COVID? So we want to know from you, Right Honorable Minister, Prime Minister, whether today or tomorrow. Lastly, Madam Speaker, when this continues like this, as we are seeing the policemen extorting money, people will come to believe that all the measures which are remaining are political. And remember, we are representing the political clients, the clients of the government business. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, your clients, as the lead of government business, are the ones who represent. And when we represent them, we make your job easy. So whatever we are saying here is for the benefit of the government. Therefore, we expect you to advise the president, working with the scientists, such that we can lift the curfew. If you cannot rank it as #1 among the strategies of fighting COVID-19. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Now, Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister for the statement he has made. Madam Speaker, for the last 3 months, the country has experienced significant reduction in the infection rate of COVID-19. The new cases has significantly reduced, and for that matter, allow me to congratulate you, colleagues, and the people of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, there have been many theories why the infection rate had reduced in this country within this month. One of the causes and the studies revealed by scientists is that previous studies in influenza in this country has shown that the rate at which the infection comes is especially at the peak of the rain season, when the rain comes and when it is at the peak. And that has been proven to be similarly to this infection, given it is COVID-19. Having said that, under normal circumstance, Madam Speaker, everybody will say, given the experience we've had for the last 3 months, we should put curfew off because infection rate has been significantly reduced. But Madam Speaker, this discussion is coming at the point when the country is just the last week beginning to get the second wave of COVID-19. We're already starting to get serious infection rate going up every day. Number 2, Madam Speaker, given the fact that as a country, we have discovered a new variant that is from United Kingdom and South Africa, that is a big concern to everybody, especially we, the policymakers. Number 3, Madam Speaker, as we discuss this issue of curfew, there is a phenomenon that is called herd immunity. And given the fact that we've started the process of vaccination, herd immunity is when the population is indirectly protected. They are protected from the COVID infection when a good percentage of others have been vaccinated. 60 to 70% of the population has been vaccinated. This has come at a time when we are having this very important discussion, and this has come at a time when the vaccination on COVID has just started getting rolled out. Number 4, there has been lack of adherence to the SOPs, which is glaring and very significant. Madam Speaker, having given these 4 important points, with your permission, today in the new vision, we've seen countries like India and other countries has put in place measures to actually lock down and put curfew because of the second, third waves, which is coming back again into the country. Having said that, Madam Speaker, research has shown that nighttime curfew helps to reduce the spread of infection. This is very clear globally. And Madam Speaker, with all these reasons, especially the second wave that is glaring into the country, we are really requesting this flow that is chaired by you, that we really need to move slow. We need to monitor the way things are unfolding, because there is a very high possibility, as studied by the scientists, that by the next couple of months, the country is likely to get another high infection rate because of the second wave. And finally, Madam Speaker, and lastly, Madam Speaker, allow me emphasize the point of herd immunity. That is going to give us a leverage. Once we attain 60 to 70% of population that is already vaccinated against COVID-19 vaccine, meaning that a huge percentage of our population is indirectly protected, then that is the time when we can have most of these restrictions really. It will give us a leverage and a way forward to open up most of these restrictions so that we can live happily and enjoy whatever activities we are doing. But for now, as I sit down, Madam Speaker, as scientist, as the Minister from Health, we request that let's monitor the way the events are unfolding and we move slow, give it time to study, and we get back and we review the process from time to time. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Just before I invite the Prime Minister, I still want to be convinced that the infection of COVID is between 9 p.m. and morning. I want someone to convince me that that's the time when people get infected. That's why there's a curfew. Secondly, we had campaigns in this country. 3 months of campaign. Did that bring a spike in infections in this country? Did it? All of you are products of that campaign, those who go for elections. Secondly, the markets are busy and they're open. The churches are there. The mosques are there. You know, sometimes when you give us reasons that really are difficult to justify, the burials are there. What is special about 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.? No. Right Honourable Prime Minister, I think you better get better reasons for this stopping us from living our lives. Because of the SOPs, the infection has come down. We are aware that has come down. We are aware that has come down. So what you are saying, Internal Affairs want to say something?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to respond to 3 specific concerns that colleagues have raised in the course of responding to the statement by the Right Honourable Prime Minister. The first concern, which I would like to respond to, is, I think, a matter that was raised by Honourable Basalirwa, to the effect that the curfew is preventing Muslims now in the month of Ramadan from performing a specific act of a prayer called Taraweeh, which takes place immediately after the evening Muslim prayer and tends to last up to about 10 p.m. And therefore, if Muslims performed it, they would fall victim of the curfew. I just wanted to share with you factual information. Taraweeh is a Muslim practice of performing certain rites during the month of Ramadan. It involves reading 2 or 3 chapters of the Quran and performing 12 or so rakahs, or what you call supplications. Now, that practice is not compulsorily supposed to be performed in the mosque. Indeed, Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him, did indicate when he was asked why he did not perform Taraweeh in the mosque, he said, if I perform Taraweeh in the mosque, it will be construed as if it is compulsory. And therefore, I will not.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable J. Odong knows that I'm his parliamentary imam. And issues to do with religious matters, definitely I'm a consultant. Madam Speaker, is Honorable J. Odong in order to try to mislead us that indeed Taraweeh prayers are optional and indeed they are supposed to be performed at home. Yet he knows the importance of these prayers and the importance of the holy month of Ramadan. Madam Speaker, is he in order to try to encroach in the field he is not so much familiar with? Is he in order to interfere with matters that are very religious? Is he in order, Madam Speaker?
Honour members, unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with that situation. I don't know the Quran, I don't know the practices, so it's difficult for me to rule on his capacity or the capacity of the Imam. But Honour Minister, I think you should focus on the curfew. Don't take us into what you do in the religion, because now the Catholics will bring their thing, the others will bring, please. Just deal with the curfew. Don't confuse us with your religious practice.
Not at all, Madam Speaker. I am not confusing you. I am simply trying to educate us to understand that Taraweeh is not obligatory to be performed in the mosque. You can perform it at home. That is the sunnah of the Islam performance.
Minister, please.
Secondly,
don't take us into that.
Secondly, and if Honorable Sebagala wants, we can talk about it out of here. We will argue, and I will give you evidence. Secondly, the second point I would like to explain is the matter of a message sent by your CHOM, Director of Operations of Police, to extend curfew beyond 10 p.m. I want to let you know that that message was sent in error. It has already been withdrawn because he is not authorized, first of all, to make such pronouncements. So it was made in error and it has been withdrawn. 3, the matter of police taking money at roadblocks. I would like to inform colleagues, through you, Right Honorable Speaker, that we have taken note of this abhorrible act. On Thursday this week, I will be chairing the police authority and we will be taking action on officers we have already identified as culpable in this matter. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Does Prime Minister wish to have some concluding remarks?
Thank you very much. Right Honourable Speaker, Ndugu Kibali has said we are listening. Yes, we are listening, but not necessarily agreeing on this very important subject matter. Right Honourable Speaker, I'll just make a few comments on issues raised. One is that this matter I'm communicating today was arrived at by Cabinet after thorough discussion with scientists, and there were several scientists who advised the Cabinet, and the Cabinet was convinced that this line of action, and as will be more extensively communicated, given the circumstances, the gravity of the pandemic, the possible wave that may be coming up, the fact that variants that are more severe, that are more lethal, are more deadly, are coming up, and that younger people are increasingly being affected, as has been very well demonstrated in Brazil and some other countries. So this position is heavily backed by our scientific colleagues. Number two, Ndugu Macho raised a few issues about border points, and that Uganda is not like Kenya or like Tanzania. For diplomatic reasons, I'll not make comments on it, but I would like you to do a little more study of that subject matter because there has been reasonable performance in the fight against COVID in our country. The next point has been raised by a number of people, including you, Right Honourable Speaker, about the effectiveness of curfew in the fight against COVID. The fight against COVID has many aspects in the SOPs, and it's a combination of these factors, curfew included. The SOPs we talk about, which are very known to all of us, it's a combination, and would like to see that combination reinforced instead of weakened. I want to salute the Honorable. I'll accept clarification from my brother.
Thank you, Attorney Prime Minister Ndugu, for accepting my clarification. Right Honourable Speaker, the clarification I'm seeking from Ndugu Uganda is that if the disease and the pandemic is growing, does government reduce on its measures or it continues sustaining them? Why? NAMBOL is not active now, yet it was a collecting center. When you go in the hospitals, nothing is taking place. The funds used to provide are not there. So are you controlling, or you are using only one method, curfew alone, to control? Secondly, Madam Speaker, are there measures at the airport that are stopping this variant that is coming through from Brazil and other countries attacking this country? Madam Prime Minister. Thank you.
Okay. Right Honourable Speaker, government continues to take appropriate measures, many measures. We are not reducing them. And we will continue to expand them. Number two, we are constantly reviewing this situation. It doesn't mean that the steps you had taken last month are necessarily the steps you must continue to take now. And that's why, therefore, issues of Nambole were changed. And that's why, for example, the homes have become centers of care, and at the moment, as I speak, about 10% of our ICU-ish cases are occupied by the sick patient, but also means that there is significant improvement in the care that the country is giving. Let me also add one issue. These variants have been identified in a number of tests in Uganda. As I have told you, we have seen some of them causing more morbidity and more mortality. We do not have too many weapons against COVID. Prevention is perhaps the most powerful weapon we have against COVID. Hence, strengthening the measures that we are using, and that's why curfew is still one of the weapons. As I said, this is a matter continuously reviews, and I can't say because it is working today, tomorrow it will work, but let's continue reviewing and let's take measures as advised by our scientists. Something may be attractive on face value, but when scientists examine it, you may find that after all, it is not helpful. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the honorable members of Parliament for making their suggestions, some of them not quite agreeable to us, but some very useful. Government will consider them and will take the necessary measures. And His Excellency the President, as I have already communicated, will in the coming days be addressing the nation. And he will also address the nation about curfew and about other measures that are necessary to prevent the spread of this pandemic, which has really been a menace to us as Uganda and to the world at large. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to say what I have said. I thank you.
Thank you. Item 4.
Item 4 on the order paper, laying of papers. 4.1, addendum to supplementary schedule 5 for financial year 2020-2021.
Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay addendum to supplementary schedule 5 for financial year 2020-2021.
The members sent to Committee on Budget for producer and report back. 4.2.
Item 4.2, addenda to ministerial policy statement and budget estimates for financial year 2021-2022 for the following entities. A, Vote 148 Judicial Service Commission.
Minister of Justice.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Minister, what did you actually read? You laid. I'll find it out.
Madam Speaker, the document is already on table. I thought that in the interest to continue minimizing, we can, but it's
I think this is take us for granted. What's difficult about you holding that thing and laying it? That's what the rule requires you to do. On members, the minister did not lay anything under 4.1. Therefore, let's go to 4.2. There is nothing, he has laid nothing. You leave that item. So, expunge what was said by the Minister of Finance. Let's go to 4.2. Let's go to 4.2.
Item 4.2.
I've expunged what he said, please.
Item 4.2, addenda.
I have expunged what he said. What else do you want to do? When he comes next time, we'll catch him. I've expunged what he said. There was no laying of addendum supplementary schedule for financial year 2021. That was not taken place. Let's go to justice.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the ministerial policy statement for vote number 148, Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs.
Sent to the Sessional Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs for perusal and report back.
Item 4B, vote 129, Financial Intelligence Authority.
Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the ministerial policy statement addendum for the financial year 2021-22 for vote 129.
Ministerial policy.
No, let him lay it, please. Let him lay it first. Sent to the Committee on Finance for perusal and report back.
Item 4.3, Ministerial Policy Statement for vote 314, National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the ministerial policy statement for vote 314, Lotteries and Gaming Board.
Send the Committee on Finance for perusal and report back. Four, 5, 4, 4.
Item 4.4, reports for the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2014 for sub-counties in the following districts.
Commissioner, coordinate.
Kabale District.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to read through the list and lay them together. Shivare District, reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2014 for sub-counties in the following districts: Shivare District, Zombo District, Kasese District, Bundubujo District, Oyam District, Silonko District, Moyo District, Dokoro District, Agago District, and Amdat District. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay.
Honour members, the reports are sent to the Public Accounts Committee, Local Governments, for perusal and report back.
Item 4.5, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2015 for the sub-counties in Kasese District.
Commissioner.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay a report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the sub-counties in Kasese District for the year ended 30th June 2015. I beg to lay.
No members sent the Committee of Public Accounts Committee, Local Governments, for perusal and report back.
Item 5.6, reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2020 for the following entities.
Commissioner.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2020 for the following entities: National Medical Stores, Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, Uganda Railways Corporation, Marago National Referral Hospital, Uganda Virus Research Institute, Uganda Reproductive, Maternal and Child Health Service Improvement.
Thank you.
Item 4.1, addendum to supplementary schedule 5 for financial year 2020-2021.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the addendum supplementary schedule 5 for financial 2020-21 and apologize. I thought the clerk had all this document when I was reading it earlier on. Thank you.
Finally sent to the Committee on Budget for perusal and report back. Item 5.
Item 5, Bill second reading, the National Climate Change Bill 2020.
Minister of Water. Madam Speaker and honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity, and I beg to move that the bill entitled the National Climate Change Bill 2020 be read for the second time. I beg. Members, is the motion seconded? Can justify your second reading? Seconded. Madam Speaker and honorable members, the bill that is before us today has the following objectives. And among others, I will just highlight them. 1, to give the force of law in Uganda, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, the Kyoto Protocol, and the Paris Agreement. The bill seeks to provide for climate change response measures, participation in the climate change mechanisms, measuring of emission, reporting and verification of the information, the institutional arrangements for coordinating and implementing climate change response measures, financing for climate change, and other related Related matters, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, what does this bill intend to cure the defects? Right Honorable Speaker, currently there is no legal framework governing the climate change interventions. The absence of such a framework is an obstacle in the translating the identified policy priorities into implementable actions with tangible climate change benefits. There is therefore need for a legal and regulatory framework for climate change. Okay. Madam Speaker, maybe I would like to. Okay. I don't go to the other one. Okay. Okay, no members, we've had the justification. Can we invite our committee to present their report?
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, before I present the report of the committee, I beg to lay the report and minutes of the Committee on Climate Change on the National Climate Change Bill 2020. Right Honorable Speaker and the members, this bill is long overdue. It is a very important bill. On behalf of the committee, I hereby present the report of the Committee on Climate Change on the National Climate Change Bill 2020. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the National Climate Change Bill 2020 was read for the first time on 30th of June 2020 by the Honorable Minister of State for Environment and was thereafter referred to the Committee on Climate Change in accordance with the Rule 128 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The background. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges that the world faces today. Its impacts are far-reaching and extremely devastating, particularly in less resilient countries, Uganda inclusive. The country is experiencing the effects of the changing climate, which have manifested in the uncertainty of rainfall patterns, as well as frequent floods and landslides. In recent years, the country has increasingly experienced beyond normal rainfall with devastating effects such as loss of lives and property in the mountainous areas of the Rwenzori, Elgon, and particularly in the districts of Bududa, Sironko, Mbale, Kasese, Pakwash, Bulisa, and Butaleja, among others. The reduction in agricultural yields and the resultant food insecurity as well as drought with regular incidences of extreme temperatures have also been a manifestation of the ranging effects of climate change. There has been a noticeable increase in warming trends with a projected rise of more than 2 degrees in the minimum and maximum temperatures by 2030. The World Bank noted that although the level of poverty in Uganda reduced from 62 in 2003 to 35% in 2013, the poorest and mostly subsistence farmers constantly bear the brunt of droughts and other shocks resulting from the fluctuations in temperatures. Additionally, the country's development gains have continued to be eroded due to changes in the climate, with drought reported to have caused damage and losses amounting to US dollars 1.2 billion, which is 7.5% of Uganda's GDP between 2010 and 2011. That the need to protect the environment, adapt and mitigate the dangers of climate change cannot therefore be overemphasized. Uganda ratified the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1994, the Kyoto Protocol in 2004, and the Paris Agreement in 2016. While this is the case, Uganda has no legal and regulatory framework to domesticate these agreements or protocols to address the challenges posed by climate change. The object of the bill is to give the force of law in Uganda to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, the Kyoto Protocol, and the Paris Agreement. But more importantly is to provide for climate change response measures, participation in climate change mechanism, measuring of emissions and reporting and verification of information, the institutional arrangements for coordinating and implementing climate change response measures, and financing for climate change, among other related matters. The methodology, in the course of scrutinizing the bill.
That one you can leave, they can read.
Thank you. The committee rationale for a legal framework for climate change in Uganda. Compliance with constitutional obligation. The need for a legal framework for climate change is rooted in the need to heed to the constitutional call highlighted under Objective 27 and Article 17, 1J, and Clause 39 and 2, Article 39 and 245 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Under that objective, the state shall promote sustainable development and public awareness of the need to manage land, air, and water resources in a balanced and sustainable manner for the present and future generation. The utilization of the natural resources of Uganda shall be managed in such a way as to meet the development and environmental needs of the present and future generations of Uganda. And in particular, the state shall take all possible measures to prevent or minimize damage and destruction to land, air, and water resources resulting from pollution and other causes. The state shall promote and implement energy policies that will ensure that people's basic needs and those of environmental preservation are met. The state, including local government, shall create and develop parks, reserves, and recreational areas and ensure the conservation of natural resources. Promote the national use of natural resources so as to safeguard and protect the biodiversity of Uganda. Article 17.1 mandates every citizen of Uganda to create and protect a clean and healthy environment, while Article 39, every Ugandan has a right to a clean and healthy environment. Article 245 states that Parliament shall by law provide for measures intended, A, to protect and preserve the environment from abuse, pollution, and degradation, to manage the environment for sustainable development, and to promote environmental awareness. Domestication of international climate change treaties ratified by Uganda. I've already highlighted on that one. I beg to make a summary of it. Yes, over the years, Uganda ratified many climate change related treaties, but particular for this is the UNFCCC, the Kyoto Protocol, and the Paris Agreement. In this, we made a commitment and each country is expected to domesticate. So this is the process of domesticating these agreements, treaties, and protocols. Codifying Uganda policies into law. A number of Ugandan policies take cognizance of issues of climate change. The National Climate Change Policy was passed in 2015, and paragraph 5.1 thereof underscores the need for a robust legal institutional framework to address the growing challenge of climate change. The policy is there is no law. So this is a good justification that we need a climate change law. The National Development Plan 3 highlights in paragraph 218 that natural resources and climate change management are critical to the reduction of losses from disasters, achievement of increased household incomes, and improved quality of life for the population. And paragraph 219 highlights the centrality of climate change management to the realization of the sustainable industrialization agenda. NDP 3 mainstream climate change into all the development plans, policies, and budgets of the natural resources, environment, climate change, land, water management program. However, other programs, particularly those prioritizing the nationally determined contribution, are deficient of climate change responses. Fortunately, Uganda was the first country in Africa to develop and endorse its nationally determined contribution plan. In June 2018, it made key commitments in regard, including reducing greenhouse gas emission by 22% by 2030. Of course, globally, we want to reduce by 45%. Reducing climate change vulnerability of climate-sensitive sectors, since the economy is natural resource dependent, building climate change resilience of key sectors and disaster risk management. Although the inclusion of climate change under policies and sectoral development planning is an important way through which climate change adaptation and mitigation may be promoted, the need to implement policies on climate change and its centrality to the development plan of the country require that a law on climate change be enacted. Addressing the effects of climate change, Uganda has various pieces of legislation that mention the need for climate change mitigation and adaptation in areas such as health, environment, energy, disaster preparedness management, among others. However, climate change is not the gist of the laws and tend to be overshadowed and thus loses the prominence it deserves when it comes to implementation. Climate change, however, continues to affect all sectors as climatic factors are interlinked with socioeconomic factors. According to the projection of the Economic Assessment of the Impact of Climate Change 2015, climate change damage estimates in the agriculture, water, infrastructure, and energy sectors will collectively amount to 2.2 to 4% of the GDP between 2010 and 2050, if no legal framework to guide action is put in place. There exists glaring gaps between the policy and practice of implementing climate change action, and consequently, there is need for specific legislation that addresses climate change mitigation and adaptation. Compliance with the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Sustainable Development Goal number 13 calls for all countries to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. Under this goal, countries have the obligation to strengthen resilience, adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters in all countries, integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies and planning, and improve education and awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning, among others. These are wide-ranging measures that can only be properly implemented with a comprehensive legal and institutional framework, which the bill aims to put in place. Goal number 13 is particularly critical, given that developing countries like Uganda suffer the brunt of the effects of climate change, even though they contribute least to global warming. Observation and recommendation. Against the above background, the committee made the following observation and recommendation to the National Climate Change Bill 2020, as highlighted below. Interpretation clause. The committee notes that clause 2 of the bill adopts narrow definition, which is strictly interpreted and which, if strictly interpreted, could lead to ambiguity. For example, district is restrictively defined and does not take care of other developments, including the creation of new cities. Recommendation. The committee recommends that clause 2 of the bill be amended to expand the narrow definition and provide for terms not otherwise provided for in the bill. Key timelines. The committee observed that a number of key timelines were not provided for, thereby posing a challenge of implementation of the Act. While the bill provides for the development of framework strategy on climate change in clause 5, it does not provide the timeline within which the framework strategy is to be developed. This can lead to delays as there are no set timelines. The committee further observed that even where the bill provides timelines, it gives wide discretion regarding those timelines, which may not lead to the desired outcome. Recommendation. The committee recommends that timelines should be provided where the bill requires action to be taken in order to guide the implementation. National Climate Change Advisory Committee. The committee notes that Uganda National Climate Change Policy mandates the creation of the National Climate Change Advisory Committee to provide technical input to the Policy Committee on Environment. The advisory committee is envisaged to offer strong, transparent, credible, and enforceable oversight on the activities of the Department of Climate Change. The proposed committee will be chaired by the Minister for Water and Environment and will bring together technical representatives from the various government departments at the national level, along with representatives from private sector, association, civil society, academia, and district authorities. Recommendation. The committee recommends that the bill be amended by introducing a new clause to provide for a National Climate Change Advisory Committee. Climate financing. The committee takes cognizance of the fact that the financing is key to climate change adaptation and mitigation. However, issues of climate financing have not been prioritized in the past. The committee further observes that while the bill makes provision for financing of climate change, the provisions therein are not adequate, despite the fact that party states to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change have been encouraged to translate international commitments into national policies, laws, and plans of action to ensure adequate resources and monitoring. The committee found that although efforts have been made to mobilize funds for the environment under Clause 32 of the National Environment Act, which provides for a National Environment Fund, no monies have been ring-fenced to specifically deal with the climate change crisis. This despite the fact that on average, Uganda shillings 10 billion is collected annually through environment levies and deposited in the consolidated fund. Goal number 13 of the Sustainable Development Goals emphasizes that social and economic development must be achieved in ways that are sustainable for the planet. This requires mobilizing financial resources from different sources, including public, private, bilateral, and multilateral. Given the uniqueness of the sources of climate funds, there is need to centralize their management in order to ensure proper accountability. The committee examined climate change legislation from different countries with regard to the handling of climate financing and found that most of them had specific financing mechanisms and sources provided under their laws. For example, in Kenya, the Climate Change Act of Kenya number 11 of 2016 creates a climate change fund, which is the financing mechanism for priority climate change actions and interventions. Although Clause 20 of the bill obliges the minister responsible for finance to provide for climate change financing, taking into account a number of factors, it does not provide a specific mechanism for climate change financing and management. Recommendations. The committee recommends that Clause 20 of the bill be amended to create a climate change fund subject to the Public Finance Management Act 2015, whose sources of funding shall include the following: money appropriated by Parliament for the purpose of the fund, fees and monies paid to the Department for services rendered, monies from environmental levies, loans, grants, gifts, or donations from government and other sources made with the approval of the minister. The committee further recommends that the Minister of Finance should ensure that national, sectoral, and district level budgets and other indicative planning figures integrate climate change through appropriate provisions. The committee recommends that the ministry should continue to attract climate finance and technology and further facilitate the introduction of relevant financial mechanisms and tools in order to support climate change resource mobilization and investment. Mainstreaming climate change. the committee observes that climate change is a cross-cutting issue and central to national development. And for this reason, the NDP3 has mandated that it is mainstream across all sectors. The committee notes that while the bill attempts to mainstream climate change, it falls short of the desired level of integration. Although the bill is expected to put climate change on the agenda across all government departments to enable policy making in the relevant sectors and transform political debate on climate change, this does not come out clearly under the provision therein. Whereas the bill provides for the development of National Climate Change Action Plan under Clause 6, and thereafter, district and local government climate change action plans, there is no provision for intermediate government agencies not operating at local government level to develop plans for adaptation and mitigation of climate change effects, and neither is there a provision for inter-district and transboundary resources and projects. Further, Clause 27 of the bill provides that Section 9 of the Public Finance Management Act 215 be amended to mandate budget framework papers of only votes responsible for implementing climate change measures and to allocate funds for climate change. It is, however, the committee's observation that the budget framework papers for all votes be climate change responsive and contain adequate allocation for funding climate change measures and action, since climate change is a cross-cutting issue. The committee recommends that the bill mandates ministries, departments, and other government agencies to develop action plans within 1 year after the development of the National Climate Change Action Plan. The committee further recommends that Clause 27 of the bill be amended to provide that the budget framework papers for all votes be climate change responsive and contain adequate allocation for funding climate change measures and action. Climate change disaster risk management. The committee notes that disaster risk management is a major component of climate change adaptation modalities, and issues related to mitigation of loss and damage. The committee further notes that climate change related hazards and disasters continue to displace thousands, claim lives, devastate homestead, and destroy household livelihoods. Article 8.1 of the UNFCCC recognizes the importance of averting and minimizing and addressing loss and damage associated with the adverse effects of climate change, including extreme weather events and slow onset events. The committee was, however, informed that disaster risk management as a whole has not been prioritized despite its contribution to averting the adverse effects of the climate change. The ministry responsible for disaster preparedness lacks substantive funds to not only respond to climate change related disasters, but most importantly, ensure that there is resilience to the would-be causes of such disasters. Recommendation. The committee recommends that the government adopt elaborate mechanisms to implement adaptation and mitigation measures to address climate change disasters. Integration of climate change in the education curriculum. The committee acknowledges that mainstreaming climate change under the education sector would promote interdisciplinary skills among learners to collectively appreciate the issue at a national and global level in order to contribute to sustainable development. The committee notes that the integration of climate change in the curriculum would not only skill learners on climate smart practices and technologies, but also address the challenges associated with awareness raising. The committee underscores the need to use school as a mechanism of disseminating awareness and sensitizing Ugandans on climate change and its effects on the country. Recommendation. The committee recommends that a clause be inserted in the bill to provide for the integration of climate change education and research in the curriculum, with emphasis on school-community linkages. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee has attentively considered the provision of the bill and here reiterates the necessity to have a legal framework to address existential threat of climate change. The committee further calls upon the country to treat the matter with utmost urgency by ensuring that all stakeholders play their part in ensuring its mitigation and adaptation before it is too late. The committee recommends that the National Climate Change Bill 2020 be passed into law subject to the proposed amendments. I beg to report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Songa, Chair of the Climate Change Committee, together with your members for the work done on this important bill. Honorable members have established that have necessary minimum numbers. You are free to make your comments. The same. I was trying to check where my legal officer is, because I've noted that actually what we are doing is actually domesticating a treaty.
Right Honorable Speaker, the major reason why we need to have a climate change law in the country, the law is to provide for climate change response mechanisms, to provide for participation in climate change mechanisms, to provide for measuring of emission, reporting and verification of information, and to provide for institutional arrangements within the country for coordinating and implementing climate change response measures, and to provide for financing. Coming to institutional mechanism, you will see we are doing some efforts as a country to address climate change, but the efforts are scattered. We need an institutional coordination that can work and address climate change in the country in totality. Of course, as we do that, automatically we domesticate whatever commitment we made in the UNFCCC, the Paris Agreement, and the Kyoto Protocol.
Honourable Member, you know, what I'm saying is that it seems we're just to bring the treaty exactly as it is, because the way it is set, this is the protocol, the Kyoto Protocol, isn't it? So I was just in my mind asking how much can we do to an existing treaty, which is already, to which you have already committed. I don't know. I was trying to get my lawyer to look at it to see, because if the whole of this bill is the protocol, the Kyoto Protocol. That's why you read about articles, you read about this. It's a gray area, but let's have your views. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee should have been more holistic in its handling this matter, because it's very broad. Because when you look at the objective for bringing the bill, it's like we need a legal framework because we are experiencing disasters, rains, but that's not the issue. The issue is bigger than that. And the committee should have carried us through. Some of us have had opportunity of attending quite a number of discussions and conferences on this subject. So we tend to know more. Right Honorable Speaker, what would surprise you is that whereas the chair is talking about lack of financial resources and so on, but if you check with the various government departments, you find that there's so much money coming into the country under different projects, purportedly to deal with climate change, mitigations and adaptations and so on. And we need to know where are these projects, under which ministry is it being managed. We need to know this. But now we are asking the government to put in money and whatnot. We don't know how much money already we are getting. So Right Honorable Speaker, I am a very, very strong supporter of climate change, and I would like this bill to be passed like yesterday. But I would like it to be presented in a broader way. When you talk of the Kyoto Protocol, it is like many of these charters that we sign with international organizations. We have to highlight areas which are very relevant to our country, and we domesticate them and make sure that we implement those areas that we have identified in order to make a meaningful change in our situation. So whereas the Kyoto Protocol is there, and there are other protocols which have already been signed which actually the chair should have highlighted, you know, the one which was signed in COP21. We should have been able to highlight the areas where Uganda played a very critical role in that particular negotiation, so that we know where we have come from, what we have achieved at the moment, and where we are going when we adopt this law. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, and of course, the Attorney General has denied that's his services. Honorable Chetero, Organ and Oshave and is that Florence? Okay.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for a very good report and the Minister for bringing this bill. Right Honorable Speaker, my first intervention was exactly what you raised, but maybe I'll start with another first one. Where is the policy, the National Climate Change Bill? Is it in place, or are we putting the cart before the horse? I would want the committee or the ministry to tell me where the policy is. If this law, which I really support, and I would want it yesterday, not today, but we need also to have a policy on this. Secondly, Madam Speaker, we are trying to import, or we are basically domesticating the international agreements, the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement, and then the UN 3. Now, if we are to, which we are doing right now. Now, when we are doing this, Madam Speaker, we have to be careful with the localization of this kind of these protocols or agreements in our laws, the entrenchment, to make sure that what we are importing from those treaties are not just verbatim into our conditions, but we choose what is really good for Uganda. We've had domestications of some laws which have actually turned out to be stale. Then lastly, Madam Speaker, one of the problems, because sometimes we make these laws because things are already bad. We have a chance as Uganda to actually protect our environment. We should not wait until the environment is totally degraded, then we now say we are beginning to repair it. A case in point is the way we are cutting down all the trees, destroying the environment, and burning charcoal. The other one is one that we are waiting to happen, is we are about, or we've already started drilling the oil. And I see that we really need to include in this law, what are we going to do with the waste as we drill the oil? I want to thank you, Madam Speaker.
I really think I need the Attorney General here, because what I can see here, we are incorporating the convention. We're incorporating the convention. That's the bill, is an entire convention. What can we do about a convention? Because maybe we could have borrowed, I don't know, everywhere you look, the Kyoto Convention, the Paris Agreement. Yes, Organ, Mama Yanja. Then Robina, I've seen you, Timsigu.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Let me thank the chair of the committee and the minister. But I want to start by applauding the colleague, Honorable Erago. You've indeed showed that you are a lawyer, and not just a lawyer, but seasoned and senior. Because I was also, Madam Speaker, about to start by questioning the approach that we are taking. We are talking about the protocols, international treaties, what we are trying to ratify, and then we domesticate. But Madam Speaker, what is the context? Because I would think and contend that our atmosphere is quite different. Not everything that is important may be good for us. And I think because of that, it's also very possible, it's also very important that we test what we are trying to import against the provisions of our constitution. Because you might get surprised to see that some of these issues are not constitutional in Uganda. I say so because there's need to follow our constitution. Domestication is good. To me, Madam Speaker, it now appears like if there were no international conventions, agreements, whatever, treaties, then Uganda would not be able to have a law. That is what it appears. So without those, then we are empty. Number two, I want to agree with the committee on issues of interpretation. When we have clarity in terms of definitions, then it's easy for those who use the law to enforce. Madam Speaker, this law must be able to create obligations, most especially for the state. Because if we are talking about climate change, who are the enforcers? And I think because the state is the one which owns the money, who has the money, the state must have also obligations that the state must play. Madam Speaker, we need offenses, strong offenses, to be created if this law is to work. But without trying to compromise on the rights of the citizens of Uganda. The survival of the people is so much attached to the natural resources. And because of that, just importing this law without balancing and knowing what we need can easily harden the life of Ugandans, and we shall have a very big problem. Madam Speaker, offenses must always move with the penalties attached. And we would love also to see a very clear mechanism of enforcement. Otherwise, without a mechanism of enforcement, then there is no law. It is absent. So we are waiting to see when we go to committee stage in detail what you have really provided there. And I think, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Environment knows this. Most of the issues we talk about here, even when this law comes, I don't know whether we shall implement. Honorable Minister, you know, one time I asked you to check around on issues of degradation of a certain water point, a wetland. You just reached there, but up to today, no action has taken. But that is, a climate change starts getting affected from those smaller points, actually from household level. So, Madam Speaker, I am concerned. All that we are talking about may just be a ritual that we have a law, but a law which will be turned to be staying in the shelf without implementation. And that will be a problem. But I think for us, it's our duty to do what we are supposed to do. Let's make the law. Those who are supposed to implement, they should do the needful. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Now, honorable members, you see, my difficulty is that we are incorporating a treaty already signed. I had thought that we would draw our own bill, but now let me read it for you here. Article 8 of the, I think the Kyoto Convention. A secretariat is hereby established. Functions of the secretariat shall be to make arrangements for sessions of the conference of the parties, subsidiary bodies established under the convention, provide them with services as required. Really? I do have a problem, honorable members. Let's have honorable manager shall raise her.
Mr. Speaker, I think with your... Yeah.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the committee for this report. However, Honorable Speaker, as you've rightly noted, we have a lot of gaps to guide the climate change. The committee notes that there is no legal framework to guide, and that's why we need a law today, maybe yesterday. But Madam Speaker, noting that all these protocols have been in place for all this time, I don't know why we have been having all these gaps not being guided. Secondly, Madam Speaker, we note that human behavior has impacted a lot on the environment. And whatever we have to do to guide human behavior, we need government entities to plan together, to work together, so that we avoid any disasters as we are experiencing right now. Madam Speaker, the issues of enforcement should also be addressed in the law that is coming. However, I'd like to find out from the committee chairperson which entity is going to have all these other sectors come together to coordinate and implement the issues on climate change, because these are cross-cutting issues. All the sectors must be brought on board for proper coordination. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I think members, we have failed to get what the Speaker is saying. The spirit of the bill is okay, but the drafting has a problem.
I'm a lawyer and I'm telling you what I've read as a lawyer. I see here operation of a convention, meetings of the conference of state parties.
Yes.
This is what is in this bill. It's not our business.
That's what I'm saying, Madam Speaker. And I was praying that if permitted, you can refer us back, the committee, to correct those errors so that we move well.
It's not errors. This, where is our own bill? Our bill of Uganda. That's what I want to see. This is the convention of all the countries.
That's not there.
I want to see our own bill.
Then there is no bill.
Because how shall we work on settling disputes between countries? This is what is here.
Huh? Then that means there is no bill.
Let's, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you have raised the legal concerns about this bill, and aware that the Attorney General is not here. I don't know whether it would not be prudent for you to request the Attorney General to come and maybe give, because the bill cannot come here without clearance from the Attorney General. And these are concerns now being raised by you, Right Honorable Speaker. So maybe the Attorney General should be, we could skip this for now and ask the Attorney General to come and give guidance.
Yes, Honourable members. Clerk, please record that we are unable to proceed for now until we get the advice of the Attorney General on the nature of the bill, its relationship to the Paris Agreement, the Kyoto Protocol, And what I want to say, our own bill, the Uganda bill, not the treaty. Our own bill. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. In addition to that, Right Honorable Speaker, we need the Minister for Environment to clarify to this House. We've just completed the National Environmental Bill 2019, which we worked rigorously here and we passed. I want the Minister to come here and clarify specific clauses that needs this law that we cannot carry in the Environmental Act 2019. It is very, very important because, Right Honorable Speaker, I've been looking through this, trying to see why didn't we carry the detail here in the bill that we just completed. If the Minister can allay our fears, then it is quite important for us to proceed on this one. Otherwise, if you look at the way this bill was presented, it has 120 pages, but of 120, just a few things are presented here. The rest are schedules of the other protocols. And even if, Madam Speaker, normally the normal procedures here, even if you are to attach a schedule, we cannot attach a protocol. We attach the details of things that we need to implement the law. Information accepted.
No, anyway, members, I don't know what we are discussing. I've already said we defer consideration of this one until we have had a proper legal opinion on this bill. It can't be, these are serious issues, can't be tomorrow. Minister, I wanted to say something. Okay, Minister for Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues. Madam Speaker, we do take your advice that the Attorney General will come and beef up the legal perspective. But I want to take note, Right Honorable Speaker, that this bill is very important for our country. The committee has tried to do their best, burnt candles over this. And I pray that, Madam Speaker, we quickly beef it up and make this law to help us protect our environment. That cannot be underrated because there's already difficulties and loopholes in enforcing our undertaking for the environment. And Madam Speaker, you are our greatest ally, and therefore we rely on your guidance and expressly, if this bill can come back and we make it into law so that we save this mother country. Otherwise, colleagues, a lot is going on out there. If we don't have this enforcement arm, then we shall be having a big problem. So I look forward, Madam Speaker, that we shall have this law come back quickly. Probably, I don't know how soon we should bring it back. The Attorney General, you should have put maybe time, if you can come tomorrow when. And we'll make this law. Madam Speaker, I beg to pray.
So today is Tuesday. Maybe what's the Attorney General to come back to us on Tuesday next week. There are serious legal issues. Take that one. Okay, now members, let's go to
Item 6. Item 6 on the order paper, motion for resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow up to $90.0 million from the Islamic Development Bank, IDB, and $15.0 million from Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADEA, to support development of irrigation schemes in Unyama, Namaru, and Sipi regions projects.
Members, as you recall, we had received a report on this loan. Issues are raised which require the minister to respond to before we complete the matter.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Colleagues, they raised some questions the other time, and Madam Speaker ruled that we should come and give responses to those raised. I'll be brief, Madam Speaker. Number one was about 2 meteorological stations in the country where farmers suffer inaccurate information. It is very true, Madam Speaker, because this has been happening, and we took a study which recommended to have 2 more in order to cover the whole country. The Unuma purchased, and we are going to install in Rampara and Lira to supplement on the existing ladder system in Entebbe. This will be fully operational and strengthen the regional and local networks to offer real-time data. And this obviously will now cure the problem, Madam Speaker. Additional to that, each irrigation scheme has been incorporated to have automatic meteorological stations, including one in Mubuku, Kasese district, Doho in Butareja, Ngenge in Kwen, Tochi in Oyam, Wederai in Pakwach, as additional stations, meteorological stations that will offer national data logger to generate real-time data. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, under SCASCA projects targeting in the Bukedia watershed zone, 16 automatic weather stations shall be installed. The weather and climatic data generated will be used to improve irrigation, water management, and water use efficiency in targeted areas. So, Madam Speaker, that answers question number 1, that we have developed capacity. If we install all the stations, we shall be on top of the game. Number 2 was on the low absorption of funds. It is true, Madam Speaker, our ministry, like other ministries, suffer the same, and the question is about the low disbursement for the said projects approved by Parliament. Madam Speaker, we are particular to say the solar-powered project has delayed, which is true, partly because of COVID, that the contractors and the Exim Bank of India have been slow in achieving our time frame as required by the ministry. Of course, the other question is the land acquisition. We suffer problems where, when it comes to construction of these infrastructures, people tend to change when we tend to put like the tank at the final stage of the project. They tend to inflate, they tend to give reasons, and many are even in court for the same. The third reason, Madam Speaker, is the court processes. There was a case in Kasese where we had put the channels completely nearer to complete it. A culture leader refused the offer, saying the money was not enough. We had to persuade him to accept what we had agreed for the project to go on. So as a water sector, we always suffer these land acquisition problems, and Madam Speaker, partly causes our low absorption in many cases. Of course, the other side is about the finance. The Minister of Finance has committed availability of required resources to achieve the desired project preparedness in order to ensure satisfactory utilization and absorption of funds for all debt finance projects in the water and environmental sector. Madam Speaker, the third one was about the implementation of agribusiness development. This was about mandate, and of course, mandate is shared under the irrigation policy, both water and MAIF. Our part is about the infrastructure of the water system, but the agribusiness and agronomy extension is by Minister of Agriculture. Since the Minister of Agriculture is here, that is their part. It is the shared mandate. Ours is to have water to the station, to the farm. Honorable Nsamba raised about Mairikiti Church, small scale irrigation. We are working. It is just the extension of 4 acres that they requested to be added, and we are going to install the tank. It was a result of COVID interruption, but of course, before the financial year end, Honorable Nsamba, you'll have the 4 acres extension and the tank installed. The last one was about the potential for water harvesting by Honorable Jane. It is true, honorable members, this should be a joint fight. We should encourage our people to harvest water. And flooded areas like Kasese and Teso in particular, we are using damming as a solution through valley tanks. We have developed capacity of about 480 communal valley tanks, 1,077 individual valley tanks, 34 earth dams, all creating a storage capacity of 42.282 million cubic meters. Even the Teso area, we have decided to do a study in this financial year to have at least 6 valley tanks to mitigate the flooding that kills our people in Teso as a solution. So we are, as a ministry, we agree to dam all this surface water in order to keep it and use it for irrigation as a strategy. There was a question raised about training at a site by Honorable Jane. She was against that we are not there. Training, agronomy training, agribusiness, farmers and the district staff have already benefited from this. And Honorable Sempija will give more on this to be more clearer when and how. The last question was about project management costs. It is true, the project costs are significant. We have a total loan of 90 million. The budgeted cost for irrigation scheme development is about $79 US, 79.1, which is about 87.89%. Agribusiness development is about 3 million, which results into 33%. Integrated natural resource management is about 5 million, which is close to 5.56%. Project management is at 2.9, which is 3.22%. The best practice for execution of projects requires that management costs should not exceed 5% of total project costs. The management costs are partly required to undertake environmental and social audits, community awareness, raising and engagement, capacity building, and training as recommended by the National Economy Committee in order to have sustainability and ownership of the project. So, and also monitoring, supervision, and evaluation. These are the costs that Honorable Nsamba wanted to know as part of the loan management costs. Madam Speaker, I beg to submit. Those were the questions raised. I thank you.
Honourable Minister, I don't know whether you answered my questions on your failure to absorb 4 loans. the water integrated water management and development project, loan taken December 2018, only 3.2% utilized. Development of solar powered irrigation and water supply system, taken September 2019, no utilization whatsoever. Irrigation for climate resilience, loan taken August 2020, no utilization. Supply installation of solar powered water pumping systems in rural areas, taken October 2020, no implementation. Those wanted to know why you have failed to utilize this money and they're still taking more.
Madam, I will answer case by case. The recent one of India, the solar powered, I had used it as an example that it is true. We approved the loan, the contract was signed. Those people were in India and they couldn't travel. We sent the contract, they have responded. They are mobilizing, but they had the COVID problem during this period. The other ones, like each, I can give an explanation, Madam Speaker. Let me first allow Sempeja to answer this, then I come back on case by case. The 4. Thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I think the Minister, while responding to that, he used the one to give us as a blanket response. It's good he's bringing further information, but we also want the interest status, because some of these loans, they lie unused while we are paying interest on them. It is quite important. Right, Honorable Speaker, he also raised the matter to do with meteorology in the country, and somehow he's giving us a promise that very soon things are going to be okay with meteorology in the country, that they've established other center stations. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think before we approve this loan, we need your committee to prove that what the Minister is saying is right, that we have those centers, and those centers are either under construction but in the Auditor General's report of 2019, while speaking about meteorology, he indicated the biggest challenge with the meteorology information that we have, that the machines and the equipment we have is outdated and it cannot give us the reliable information. I expected the Minister to respond in terms of how they are handling in equipping the environmental UNIMA and so that they can give us reliable information. But he must prove to us, Right Honorable Speaker, that actually those centers are under construction the way he's saying.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My brother buying machinery for stations does not mean we will stay idle. It means we have to install it. And this study was in 2013 by an American firm that I recommended Rwampara and Lila as the 2 stations, technically. Now, if Rwampara was picked, it was on the technical basis. We have no interest to put Rwampara, but we have one interest to serve Uganda maximally. So my brother, beyond a doubt, this one is underway because the equipment is available now. The second reason, Madam Speaker, on the Nexus Green loan, Honorable Bahati, where the Solicitor General recommended some changes and they made amendments. And that amendment, before the loan is, I think we don't pay interest. Let finance clarify on this. Because partly, when the Solicitor General recommended the amendment, it was finance to re-engage the other group. That is on the other one of solar, the second one. The solar were 2, Madam Speaker. The one of Nexus Green and the one of the recent one of 2020. On the climate resilience, it has started. It is 3.2 billion service. And by December 2020, of course, there was the mobility that they could not move during COVID, what we have been debating over the curfew and total lockdown, also affected their time. They have asked for extension, and the ministry has accepted in order for them to finish their works. Madam Speaker, I would like Honorable Bahati to clarify on the new engagement of that amendment concerning the interest.
Madam Speaker and colleagues, the issue of generally, first and foremost, the issue of absorption capacity of different sectors has been a concern not only this parliament, but everybody, and we'd want to appreciate the Committee of National Economy. They came up with new regulations and rules to say that things that were actually delaying the implementation and absorption capacity of the projects should be improved. One of them was you cannot now pass a loan unless there is counterpart funding available. The second was the issue of land compensation, which we are still struggling with, and also a number of other ideas that they came up with. And because of that, we have seen, generally speaking, the absorption capacity improving from an average of 45 to now 60% overall, and we continue to move. But on these specific projects of water, there are two reasons I can see. First, if a loan has not disbursed, we are not paying interest. I think there was Honorable Patrick in some was asking this. We don't pay interest on that if a loan has not been disbursed. The second issue, it was the issue of COVID that really disrupted some of when we are negotiating, signing of documents, moving them up and down, scaling down on both sides for the lenders and ourselves. Then, like one of them, or the solar-powered project, when we were about to sign, we had negotiated that we reduce the cost of the loan by taking on the owner's engineer. And because of that reduction, the Solicitor General, the Attorney General advised that we should come back to Parliament to amend the resolution. And we want to thank you, Madam Speaker, that you accepted us to amend this resolution. We have amended it, we have signed. I think they should be able to start implementation in this by the end of this month. So that's how we can state on that particular one. There are issues that we are handling internally as government. If it is an issue of project management, we are now very, very, very strict. We want actually to use it as an indicator of performance on the accounting officer of the sector. So that project management, also issues of decision making have been a problem. There's also another issue of procurement. We secure resources, but to procure these services become a problem. So we came here with amendments. If we had, I think, finished the PPD amendment, would actually go a long way in terms of reducing the interval of time we take to finish the procurement. But we want to appreciate the concerns of members of Parliament and also to assure you, Madam Speaker, that we are doing our very best to make sure that we get 100% absorption capacity, because if you don't absorb, we are delaying the services to reach the people, and yet that's the reason why we are approving this money. So we are really sorting out these issues. I thank you, Madam Speaker. And Uganda is not losing any coin in terms of unutilized resources, especially for the water sector. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Minister of Agriculture? No, we had had that debate already. We were waiting for answers from the two ministers. Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
First of all, I want to inform the honorable members that it took 12 years for the ministries of water and the environment and the Minister of Water, Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Fisheries to agree on the policy, on the irrigation policy, which is very interesting, but I just want this parliament to congratulate the two ministers for, for having broken the barrier and we agreed on the irrigation policy for the sake of our country, really. And we are implementing this policy together and we are moving ahead. And once you look at the graph now, water for irrigation is, the graph is going up. So majorly, Right Honorable Speaker and the members, the Minister of Water, in terms of irrigation schemes and in terms of water for irrigation and production, majorly the policy says that the Minister of Water should handle what we call off-farm water, that is bulk water pumping to water to the sites, and then the Minister of Water Minister of Agriculture uses it to water the crops. But in practice, Right Honorable, you may not really break, that's why we work together. You may not break you may not entirely say, it depends on the geography of the area. For example, if it is an irrigation scheme, like Mobuku, like Doho, the Minister of Water will do all the trenching, and then after that, they will hand over to the Minister of Agriculture to use the water in the trenches to grow the crops. And then, of course, our agriculture engineers, our water engineers, our irrigation engineers, and agronomists will work together to make sure that we control how much water is used for the crops and so on. So sometimes there is a kind of interaction and working together, but we agreed to do that so that we move ahead. So all of these irrigation schemes will be productive because of this new policy where we are working together. So there is no problem with the coordination and working together. So sometimes that's why you see that we talk about small irrigation schemes under the Ministry of Agriculture. It's only interpreting off-farm and on-farm. But as ministries, we know where we meet and where we do things together. Thank you, Right Honorable. I just wanted to assure the members that what we are doing now is already pushing our country to better levels of. We were, I think, by the time of the policy, we were around 0.5 water for production usage in this country. Now we have moved up to, I think, 6%. We have gone up. So with this, at that rate, we are going to make sure that everybody, we have started working with the individuals. We have also started working with the crop and animal farmers. So we think like this loan is designed to train farmers. We are very sure that our people will also adapt to the new science of using water for irrigation. Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
So, did Honorable complete his part? Completed your part? Okay. No, we had. Okay. Because now we need to take a vote. We need to take a vote. Yes.
Honorable Bati was saying that if a loan has not been disbursed, it doesn't earn interest. Would love to categorically know which one of the past loans have not yet been disbursed. Because the issue of interest, Madam Speaker, is a very big issue. Right now, as we talk as a country, as Uganda, I'm aware that our loan burden, the debt burden, is almost hitting the bar. Almost hitting the bar. Yesterday, I was reading in one of the newspapers, the country is struggling to repay loans, and you are denying the normal budget breathing space. We are now seeing a level where government is trying to create loans, taxes, which are irrelevant because of these kind of things. How can we, Madam Speaker, go ahead to approve such a loan when 5 loans have stayed idle and they are not moving? Then we add another backlog onto a backlog. Shall we be called a house rule if we continue like that?
Yes, Minister.
Madam Speaker, it's probably because the 10th Parliament, we are remaining with a few days, but as you recall, every quarter we bring the performance of the loans and grants report to this House, which I think we should be giving it time to discuss because all the details are actually in this report. But also to note that while we are on that trend of the acquisition of loans, to also know that our budget now, the overall budget, almost 70% of our budget is in development. You recall 10 years ago, it was the opposite. 10 or 15 years ago, our budget, the biggest portion was on recurrent. But now our budget is on development. We are borrowing this money to offer services to the people of Uganda. If we had resources, domestic resources, we would not be going to borrow money. So in the next 5, 6, 7 years, we will feel the pinch. But after that, because 85% of this loan portfolio is on infrastructure, water, roads, and what. And we are not going to be doing these projects every year. So once we put them in place, Honorable Cyrus, then subsequently we will be now reducing the loan burden. So the money is going to infrastructure. 85% of the loans we are acquiring is loans, water, roads, schools, health centers. That's why we are borrowing the money, and we need these services. And we are saying we should not overburden. You recall, we don't overburden the people of Uganda through taxation. So you cannot say, don't tax, get more services, but don't borrow. It doesn't work. So the issue is really balancing it, but also ensuring that when we borrow money, I agree with you, we should implement with speed. And that's the overall responsibility of all of us, including the sessional committees. When you are considering sector policy statements, let us make sure that these accounting officers are put to task and we implement. When we mobilize these resources, let us utilize them to offer the services to the people of Uganda that they deserve. So, Madam Speaker, Honorable Sides, I really request that this House, water is life, we need this water. I request that we consider this loan and give it the support that it deserves. Thank you very much.
Honourable Minister, when do you intend to table your final state of indebtedness to this country in this Parliament?
Madam Speaker, we laid the report, but if you so it, Madam Speaker, before next week we can update the House on the issue of date. Yeah.
I think it's important to update the country.
But I can assure you, Madam Speaker, but if you compare us with with the rest of the region, Uganda, we are still sustainable. Yeah. So Kenya has now reached almost closing 70%, Rwanda, but for us, we are still on 50, close to 50%. So it's really, we have got to get money to implement the projects, which the people of Uganda, and some of these projects, we are promising them ourselves, all of us. So we must implement them. Thank you, Madam. Oh.
No, members, put the question that the question be now put. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. I could now put the question that this House to approve the request to borrow USD 90 million from the Islamic Development Bank, IDB, US dollars 15 million from Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, BADEA, to support development of large irrigation schemes in Unyama, Namalu, and Sipi regions, and 96 small-scale schemes. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Item 7 on the order paper, motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Public Accounts, Local Government on the Auditor General's reports for the financial year 2017-18 on 122 district local governments, 42 municipal councils, 1,042 sub-counties, and 355 secondary schools and tertiary institutions.
Wanted better participation because of the importance of that report. I don't know whether there's an improvement to allow us to start debate on it. I think we should postpone it to tomorrow and make sure that we start early. So that is postponed to tomorrow. It should come early, clerk. Item 8.
8 on the order paper, motion for reconsideration of the public procurement and disposal of assets amendment bill.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I also request through you, if you can direct the Minister in charge of local government to be present tomorrow. You know, the matters that are here in this document is very crucial, should be brought into the attention of the Honourable Minister. I request through that, Honourable Speaker.
Yes, you have raised an important point. The Minister of Local Government should be here because many of these accounts relate to the local governments, their health centers, their schools, etc. So the Ministers of Local Government and the others should also be here. This is very important for the country. Item 8.
Item 8 on the order paper, motion for reconsideration of the public procurement and disposal of assets amendment bill 2020 as returned by His Excellency the President in accordance with Article 91(3)(b) of the Constitution and Rule 142 of the Rules of Procedure.
Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Amendment Bill 2020 was returned by HE the President on 13th July 2020 in accordance with Article 91 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. The bill was tabled in the House on 14th July 2020 and consequently referred to the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development for reconsideration and report to the House. His Excellency the President returned to Parliament for reconsideration Clause 3, amending Section 3 of the Principal Act, inserted Clause 5, amending Section 5(1) of the Principal Act, Clause 6 of the bill, amending Section 8(1)(b), Clause 22(c) and 2(d) of the bill, Clause 35, repealing Section 88L of the Principal Act, Clause 36 of the bill, amending Section 89 of the Principal Act, Clause 37 of the bill, amending Section 90 of the Principal Act, inserted Clause 35, amending Section 91B of the Principal Act, inserted Clause 37, inserting a new Section 91CA to the Principal Act, Clause 39 of the bill, amending Section 91I of the Principal Act, Clause 41 of the bill, repealing Section 91L of the Principal Act, Clause 42, amending Section 91M of the Principal Act, Clause 45, amending Section 94 of the Principal Act, Clause 46, amending Section 95 of the Principal Act, Clause 51 on miscellaneous amendments, Clause 52, and inserted Clause 55. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee considered the returned bill and made the following observations. 1, Clause 3 of the Principal Act redefined the authority as the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority. HE, the President, guided that renaming the PPDA authority to the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority without providing for transfer of liabilities and obligations of the PPDA authority to the Procurement Regulatory Authority will cause a lacuna in the law. The contracts of employment and the contracts entered into with service providers, the pending court cases, and all other contractual obligations should have been transferred to the authority to avoid any uncertainties, hence the deletion of the term authority. Clause 5 sought to replace Section 5.1 of the Principal Act, in which established the PPDA authority. However, the provision did not present the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority as a successor to the PPDA authority and established the regulatory authority without providing for the transfer of liabilities and obligations of the PPDA authority to the regulatory authority. According to the Amendment Act 2020, the PPDA authority currently in existence will cease to exist when the Amendment Act commences. This meant that all contracts, agreements, charges, and obligations entered into, or which bound the PPDA authority, including employment contracts and retirement benefits of staff, would be affected. The amendment, by replacing the PPDA authority with the regulatory authority without providing for succession of obligations of PPDA or transfer of its contracts and agreements, would annul all actions of PPDA and cause a lacuna in the PPDA Act, hence deletion of the entire provision. Clause 6 of the bill, amending Section 8.1b by giving powers to the authority to investigate procurement and disposal proceedings. However, proceedings are reviewed by the tribunal, and furthermore, the Act defines procurement processes and disposal processes. In the bill, the provision was limited to exercise of functions and Section 7J, and did not apply to the other functions of the authority in Section 7. According to the provision, the parties who may make complaints to the authority include the procuring and disposing entities, whereas the complaints to the authority are against procuring and disposal entities. The parties who may make complaints to the authority also include bidders and contractors. This is contrary to Part 7 and Part 7A of the Act, which indicate how these may make complaints. The provision excludes complaints that are under administrative review, but does not exclude complaints before the tribunal. The provision omitted the clause in the bill that had repealed Section 8.1, 8I, and E. Clause 22C, Clause 22, 2C, and 2D of the bill sought to amend Section 58C and 2D of the Principal Act, which provided for guidelines to be made for the procurement of aggregated requirements. The provisions are silent on who is mandated to make the guidelines. In the bill, the power to make the guidelines had been removed from the authority and given the minister in clause 48 of the bill. The proposal was, however, dropped by Parliament and returned to the authority. However, for aggregated procurement and multi-year procurement in Section 58, the Public Finance Management Act has to be applied because of the financial and budgetary implications of aggregated procurement and multi-year procurements. Clause 35 of the bill sought to repeal Section 88L of the Principal Act, whereas Section 88L of the PPDA Act 2003 was amended by the Public-Private Partnership Act. The arrangements that involve the private sector resources, e.g. build, operate and own, build, operate and transfer, build, operate, own and transfer, and the PPP in Section 88L were all removed from the PPDA Act and transferred to the Public-Private Partnership Act, rendering the provision in the PPDA Act redundant. Clause 36 of the bill sought to amend Section 89 of the Principal Act, but sub-clauses 7 and 8 are not clear on what the 10-day period of both cases applied to, and sub-clause 11, the conjunction "and" is misleading and should be changed to "or." Clause 37, Right Honorable Speaker, of the bill sought to repeal Section 90 and 91 of the Principal Act. However, the Amendment Act only repealed Section 91. The provisions of Section 90 of the Act are similar to the provisions of Clause 33 of the Amendment Bill, which amends Section 89 of the Principal Act. Therefore, Section 90, as retained in the bill, is redundant and may, in some cases, contradict Section 89. Clause 35 sought to amend Section 91B3 of the Principal Act to include the membership of the tribunal, any other relevant profession. However, since the tribunal hears complaints on all procurement and disposal processes, and the appointment is permanent for a period of 4 years and not on a case-by-case basis, determining a relevant profession may not be possible. The amendment bill inserted a new paragraph 3A, which requires a third of the members to be women, which is ambiguous. Clause 37 sought to insert a new subsection 91CA. This section lists the functions of the tribunal. The functions in A, B, and D are stated in Section 89 as part of the procedure of hearing applications by the tribunal. Part 7A of the Act provides the functions of the tribunal as the processes to be adopted by the tribunal in hearing applications. For example, Section 89.8 and in Section 91 I1, spelling out the functions of the tribunal as such limits the tribunal on what it can do, it can or cannot do, for example, for the issues that are not spelled out as functions in the Act, taking an example of Section 89.9. In all cases, all tribunals are established to hear applications, and hearing applications includes the process which involves calling witnesses, examining documents, and writing decisions, which may be considered as functions. The tribunal has the inherent power to determine whether the matter that is before the tribunal qualifies to be handled by the tribunal, and where the matter qualifies, the tribunal uses its powers to determine how to handle the matter. Paragraph A refers to an administrative review. However, the tribunal does not hear applications for administrative review, as this is a function of the accounting officer. Clause 39 of the bill sought to amend Section 91I, subsection 1, allow persons to file applications under Section 89.2. However, Section 89.2 is a continuation of Section 89.1, and under Section 89.2, a person who is aggrieved uses the procedure in Section 89.3 and 4, and only resorts to a tribunal where an accounting officer has failed, hence warranting an amendment. Furthermore, the Section 91 I1 only allows bidders who are aggrieved to make applications to the tribunal and does not include other persons who may be aggrieved by a decision of the accounting officer, as indicated in Section 89.9. Section 91 I1 should be amended to include persons other than bidders to make applications to the tribunal, and to allow a bidder who believes that an accounting office has a conflict of interest in a particular matter. Subclause 2 is not clear and should be recast. Subclause 3 omitted the proposal in clause 41 of the bill, and as a result, repealed some provisions in Section 91L of the Principal Act. Subclause 4 requires the registrar of the tribunal to ask the accounting officer to suspend procurement and disposal proceedings until application for review is completed. The subsection refers to proceeding instead of the process. But more importantly, the provision contradicts Section 89.5 and 11A. The provision may be interpreted to mean that the suspension is lifted when the accounting officer makes a decision, and that the suspension may only resume when the registrar communicates to the accounting officer, which is not the intention of the Act, and which may cause an interruption in the suspension process. The intention is to ensure that the suspension is not interrupted from Section 89.5 until the process is completed in Section 89.11. Subsection 5A is in conflict with other provisions in the Act on suspension of procurement or disposal process. Subclause 5B is a final decision of the tribunal and not an interim provision. The final provisions are provided for in subclause 6. Right Honorable Speaker, subclause 6 has with modifications merged section 91 I5 and 6 of the Principal Act. In so doing, the powers of the tribunal in section 91I5 have been equated to the options available for the tribunal when making decisions, which are in 91I6. Furthermore, the provisions of the subclause 6A and B are distinguishable from the provisions of subclause 6C to J. Subclause 6A and B are the action the tribunal may take after consideration of an application. On the other hand, subclause 6C to J are the types of decisions the tribunal may make to vary or set aside a decision of the accounting officer. Furthermore, paragraphs C and E are similar. Paragraphs D, F, and H are also similar. Paragraph J recommends for disciplinary action against the accounting officer, whereas the accounting officer is not a party to the proceedings of the tribunal. Subclause 8 lists the persons who may be parties to the proceedings before the tribunal. However, clause 39, amending section 91I1, clearly spells out who makes the application and against whom the application may be made. Clause 41 of the bill sought to repeal section 91L of the Principal Act. The Act had repealed section 91L, whereas the bill has amended the section. The amendment bill has repealed reference to prescribed form in subsection A and repealed subsection B, which provisions are required. Clause 42 of the bill makes reference to section 91I4. However, suspension of the processes is under section 91L4 and not section 91I4. Clause 45 sought to amend section 94 of the Principal Act. The amendment allows a suspended provider to appeal to the decision of the authority to the tribunal. However, a review of section 94 indicates that the suspension by the PPDA is in most cases based on decisions by other bodies. For example, paragraphs B, C, and F of section 94 of the Principal Act, and that the authority does not act independently. And in paragraph D, a provider is suspended if the provider is convicted by court of law, which court ranks higher than the tribunal. Since the High Court has unlimited jurisdiction over all matters, a suspended provider has a right to petition the High Court. Furthermore, section 94 of the Principal Act should be read with section 95 1C, 1D, 1E, and 1F, and 1G, and allowing the tribunal to hear matters of suspension may render section 95 1C, 1D, 1E, and 1G redundant. Clause 46 sought to amend section 95 of the Principal Act, paragraph F, uses the phrase without justifiable cause, which is subjective and makes reference to prescribed time period for awarding contracts, whereas there is no time period prescribed within which contracts should be awarded. Paragraph G uses the phrase without justifiable cause, which is subjective. Paragraph H makes reference to public assets, which term is defined by the provision omits public funds, which may be more relevant for procurement processes. The provision should cater for public funds. Paragraph I makes it an offense to contravene recommendations of the authority. However, recommendations are not binding. Section 9(1), B, 2, 3, and 4 of the PPDA Act 2003 indicates how recommendations of the authority are to be dealt with. In clause 52, the miscellaneous amendment to substitute authority with accounting officer was omitted, and therefore it should be reinstated. Clause 53(3) inserts a transitional provision to preserve the contract of the executive director in office at the commencement of the act. The provision, however, is not definite, but deems a transfer of contract of employment and mentions similar or better terms, whereas the amendment was with respect to only the duration of the contract and not terms of service. The provision should be amended to revise the tenure of the executive director to 5 years and provide for renewal of contract, but without mention of the other terms of the contract, which were not amended by Section 12 of the amended Act. The inserted clause 55 may be interpreted to mean that there are two distinct bodies, i.e. the supply chain and the Institute of Procurement Professionals of Uganda, whereas it is only the Institute of Procurement Professionals of Uganda that is currently in existence. Furthermore, Right Honorable Speaker, the schedule at which the provision is to be inserted was repealed by Section 52 of the amended bill. Right Honorable Speaker, with these recommendations, the committee, with these observations, the committee recommends that 1, the returned clauses of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Amendment Bill 2020 be passed by the House. 2, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Amendment Bill 2020 be passed by the House. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to lay on the table the minutes of the committee that we generated in the process of reconsidering the bill, together with the other materials we received from the stakeholders. I beg to vote.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and the members of the Finance Committee for the elaborate work done. Now, members, the amendments look few, but you can see the report has gone into great detail. I think that we need to study them and start the debate in order to be able to move to the committee stage when we are still fresh in our minds. So I'm proposing that we defer debate to tomorrow. Members go and study all these changes so that when we start, we don't take too much. Yes, Honorable Albon.
Right Honorable Speaker, this bill is very, very, very important. And you might be aware, most of the members have been very, very busy in the committees because of ministerial policy statements. I would therefore beg, if you allow, we skip tomorrow and then we bring it on the next day so that you give us the tomorrow to critically look at this return bill. Because it is the one, you have seen the issues of delayed absorption of monies which are go through loans. Partly, these issues are because of this what? PPDA. So I think we need to accord it enough time. Let members understand it properly. We come back on the Thursday when we are properly hinged to it. And we do it justice. I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I do take cognizance of the concern raised by the honorable colleague from Kumi municipality. However, Madam Speaker, it is also important to appreciate how busy this season is. I was about to notify you that considering the timelines you gave us, we should be ready to start the processing the tax bills on Thursday. And I am wondering, in the circumstances, whether the time frame will allow us to consider bills of this nature and also the tax bills. Because, Madam Speaker, they are also quite many. We have 11 of them, and they will start coming in on Thursday. So I would pray that members internalize this report overnight, and tomorrow we get it out of the way so that I'm able to put my mind on the tax bills.
Honourable members, also if we take too many days before we debate, we shall lose the trend of the report. Then we shall have to get summaries and so on. Let's try to look through it tonight and use tomorrow to complete. But as the chair says, really, when I saw the list of bills I sent to him last week, I felt sorry for him and the other members of the committee. They have that, they have the policy statements. And of course, all together, we don't really have too much time anymore. So let's try to work as quickly as possible and see how far we can go before the fifth session ends. So House adjourned to tomorrow. Remember, just go and read the bill. Get back the bill and look at it. We'll work again tomorrow. 2 p.m. 2 p.m. You wanted to come at 10? The committees are sitting in the morning, so. Hey, curfews.